The Katarian Empress materializes in Eugene Howard's bedroom, desperate for his essence. Eugene jolts awake, heart pounding, as he takes in the sight before him. A stunningly beautiful alien with iridescent scales and piercing violet eyes stands at the foot of his bed, her form shimmering in the dim light of his Seattle apartment. "Eugene Howard," the alien says, her voice melodic yet tinged with urgency. "I am Empress Vita of the Katarian Empire. I require your essence or my crown, and empire will fall." Eugene blinks, certain he must be dreaming. "My... what?" Vita's eyes narrow. "Your sexual fluids, human? My species needs them to maintain our telepathic abilities and royal status. I have less than 24 hours before I lose everything." Eugene's mind reels as he processes her words. He shakes his head, backing away. "No, absolutely not. This is insane." Vita's form flickers, her powers clearly waning. She reaches out, touching Eugene's forehead. Suddenly, his mind fills with visions of massive alien ships descending on Earth, cities burning, humanity enslaved. He gasps, pulling away. "That is what awaits if I lose control," Vita explains. "I chose you specifically, Eugene. Your genetic makeup produces an essence of unparalleled potency. Help me, and I will use my influence to protect Earth from invasion. I'll even share advanced Tarian technology." Eugene's throat tightens as he realizes the magnitude of the situation. The fate of humanity rests on his participation in this bizarre alien ritual. He swallows hard, nodding slowly. "Okay, I'll do it." Relief washes over Vita's face as she steps closer. But before she can begin the extraction process, alarms blare throughout the city. Eugene rushes to the window, his eyes widening at the sight of a massive, otherworldly ship hovering above downtown Seattle. "They've found me!" Vita hisses. "My soldiers search for their missing Empress." Eugene's mind races. "We need to get out of here. Now!" As they hurry to gather supplies, the sound of alien weapons fire echoes in the distance. Eugene leads Vita out of his apartment and down the emergency stairs, his heart pounding with each step. They emerge onto the chaotic streets, where panicked civilians flee and emergency vehicles rush past. "Where do we go?" Eugene asks, scanning for a safe route. Vita's eyes dart around, assessing their options. "We need a secure location where I can feed without interruption, and we must evade both your human authorities and my Katarian soldiers." As they duck into an alley to avoid a passing patrol, Eugene realizes the full weight of their situation. He's now responsible for satisfying an alien empress's need for his bodily fluids while preventing an interstellar war, all in less than 24 hours. The night sky illuminates with another barrage of alien weapons fire. Eugene takes a deep breath, steeling himself for what's to come. "Let's move, we don't have much time." Eugene and Vita darted through the chaotic streets, their footsteps echoing against the cacophony of screams and distant explosions. The night sky flashed with bursts of alien energy weapons, casting eerie shadows across their path. "This way!" Eugene hissed, pulling Vita into a narrow alley as a Tarian patrol ship soared overhead. They pressed themselves against the cold brick wall, hearts pounding in unison. As the ship passed, Vita stumbled, her iridescent scales dulling before Eugene's eyes. He caught her, feeling the alien Empress tremble in his arms. "We need to move faster," Vita whispered, her melodic voice strained. "My powers, they're fading rapidly." Eugene nodded, his mind racing. He scanned their surroundings, spotting an underground parking garage across the street. "I have an idea. Follow me." They sprinted across the abandoned road, diving into the relative safety of the garage. Eugene's eyes adjusted to the dim light, revealing rows of vehicles left behind in the panic. "Can you hotwire a car?" Vita asked, leaning heavily against a concrete pillar. Eugene smirked, despite the gravity of their situation. "I may have picked up a few skills in my misspent youth." He quickly located an older model sedan, less likely to have advanced security features. Within minutes, he had the engine purring to life. As they sped away from the city, Vita's labored breathing filled the car. Eugene glanced at her with concern. "You said you needed my essence. How exactly does that work?" Vita's violet eyes met his. "My species evolved on a world bathed in radiation. It altered our physiology, granting us telepathic abilities. But these powers require a specific hormone found in human reproductive fluids to function. Eugene's fingers tightening on the steering wheel as he processed this information. And without it, without regular consumption, Qatarian royalty lose their powers and their right to rule, Vida explained, her voice growing weaker. My extended absence has already weakened me significantly. I'm vulnerable to challengers within my empire. As they approached the outskirts of the city, Eugene spotted flashing lights ahead. Roadblock, he muttered, quickly veering onto a dirt road leading into the dense forest of the Cascade Mountains. They drove as far as they could before the terrain became too treacherous. Eugene killed the engine, turning to Vida. We'll have to continue on foot. The alien Empress nodded weakly, her once lustrous scales now a dull, sickly shade. As they trekked through the wilderness, Eugene supported more and more of Vida's weight. Her telepathic connection to him flickered like a dying light bulb, sending sporadic flashes of alien thoughts and emotions through his mind. After what felt like hours of arduous hiking, a dilapidated structure emerged from the mist. Eugene's eyes widened in recognition. The old ranger station, he breathed. I used to camp near here as a kid. It should be abandoned now. They stumbled inside the weathered building, Eugene quickly securing the doors and windows. As he turned back to Vida, she collapsed to the floor, her body racked with violent convulsions. Vida! Eugene cried, rushing to her side. He cradled her head, feeling the heat radiating from her alien skin. Her violet eyes, once so piercing, now struggled to focus on his face. Through their weakening telepathic link, Vida's desperate thoughts flooded Eugene's mind. He saw flashes of Qatarian warships descending upon Earth, of cities reduced to ash, of humanity enslaved. And at the center of it all, a towering male Qatarian with obsidian scales and blood-red eyes. Zex! Vida gasped, her clawed hand gripping Eugene's arm. My second in command. If he captures me like this, he'll usurp my throne. Earth will burn. Eugene's heart raced as he realized the full weight of their predicament. He opened his mouth to respond, but froze as an ominous hum filled the air. Through the grimy windows, he spotted sleek Qatarian shuttlecraft descending into the forest. Find them! A deep guttural voice bellowed from outside. The Empress must not escape. Eugene's gaze darted between Vida's weakened form and the approaching Qatarian forces. Time seemed to slow as he weighed his options, knowing that his next decision could determine the fate of two worlds. The walls of the ranger station began to crackle and smoke as Qatarian energy beams cut through the aged wood. Eugene took a deep breath, steeling himself for what he knew he had to do. He looked down at Vida, her once mighty form now fragile and desperate. Tell me what you need, he said, his voice steady despite the chaos erupting around them. Vida's eyes locked onto his, a flicker of hope igniting in their violet depths. Your essence, she whispered. It's the only way. As the first Qatarian soldier burst through the disintegrating wall, Eugene made his choice. He pulled Vida close, their bodies intertwining as the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. The air crackled with tension as Eugene locked eyes with Vida, the weight of their impossible situation bearing down on them. The sounds of Qatarian weapons fire grew closer, the acrid smell of burning wood filling the ranger station. There's no time, Eugene said, his voice barely above a whisper. He helped Vida to her feet, supporting her weakened form as they moved deeper into the dilapidated building. They stumbled into a small back room, its windows boarded up and thick with dust. As Eugene lowered Vida onto a threadbare cot, her violet eyes flickered with a mixture of desperation and gratitude. Eugene, she breathed, her once melodic voice now raspy with fatigue. I'm sorry to ask this of you, but... He cut her off with a gentle nod. I know. It's okay. With trembling hands, Eugene began to undress. The sounds of destruction outside faded into the background as he focused on Vida's alien form. Her iridescent scales, now dull and lifeless, seemed to pulse with anticipation. As they came together, Eugene felt a jolt of energy course through his body. Vida's telepathic connection flared to life, flooding his mind with alien sensations and emotions. He saw flashes of distant worlds, felt the crushing weight of an empire on the brink of collapse, and experienced the raw desperation of a ruler fighting to save her people. Their encounter was brief but intense. As Vita consumed Eugene's essence, her body began to transform before his eyes. Color returned to her scales, shimmering with an otherworldly light. Her violet eyes glowed with renewed power, and the air around her seemed to hum with energy. Vita sat up, her movements fluid and graceful once more. She placed a hand on Eugene's cheek, and he gasped at the strength of their telepathic connection. In an instant, he understood the full history of the Catarian people, their evolution on a radiation-bathed world, the development of their telepathic abilities, and their desperate search for compatible human donors. "You've saved me, Eugene," Vita said, her voice strong and clear, "and possibly your entire world." A thunderous crash from the front of the ranger station jolted them back to reality. Vita's eyes narrowed in concentration, and Eugene felt a wave of psychic energy emanate from her. The sounds of the Catarian search party suddenly became muffled, as if heard through water. "A psychic shield," Vita explained. "It will mask our presence temporarily, but we need a plan." Eugene's mind raced, drawing on his years of experience as a software engineer. "Their communication systems," he said suddenly. "If we could hack into them, create a false trail." Vita's eyes widened. "Brilliant. With my restored powers, I can guide you through the process." Using Vita's telepathic link, Eugene navigated the alien technology as if he'd been working with it for years. His fingers flew across his smartphone, repurposing apps and coding on the fly. Within minutes, they had tapped into the Catarian communication network. "Attention all units," Eugene typed, his message translated into Catarian glyphs. "Empress Vita spotted heading north towards Mount Baker. All forces converge on these coordinates immediately." They watched through a crack in the boarded window as the Catarian ships began to pull away, following the false lead. Eugene let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. "We need to move," Vita said, already heading for the door. "My shield won't last forever." As they emerged from the ranger station, the forest around them was eerily quiet. The distant sound of Catarian engines faded into the night, leaving only the rustle of wind through the trees. Suddenly, a bright light cut through the darkness. Eugene tensed, ready to run, but Vita placed a calming hand on his arm. "Hold," she said. "These are your people." A military Humvee burst into the clearing, its headlights illuminating Eugene and Vita. A woman in combat fatigues leapt out, her rifle trained on them. "Hands where I can see them," she barked. Eugene raised his hands slowly. "We're not the enemy," he said. "I'm Eugene Howard, and this is—" "Empress Vita of the Catarian Empire," Vita finished, stepping forward. Her scales shimmered in the Humvee's lights, and her eyes glowed with barely suppressed power. "And we need your help to prevent an interstellar war." The soldier's eyes widened, but her rifle didn't waver. "Captain Sarah Chen, United States Army," she said. "Give me one good reason why I shouldn't detain you both right now." Vita closed her eyes for a moment, and suddenly Captain Chen gasped. Eugene knew she was experiencing the same flood of information and emotions he had earlier. "My God," Chen whispered, lowering her weapon. "It's all true." "We need to get to a secure location," Eugene said urgently. "The Catarians will realize they've been tricked soon." Captain Chen nodded, her training kicking in. "I know just the place. Get in." As they sped through the dark forest roads, Eugene felt Vita's hand slip into his. Through their telepathic link, he sensed a swirl of emotions, gratitude, affection, and something deeper that made his heart race. "What you did back there," Vita said softly, "it created a bond between us. Among my people, such a connection is rare and precious." Eugene squeezed her hand, a mix of excitement and trepidation coursing through him. "What does that mean for us?" Before Vita could answer, Captain Chen's voice cut through the moment. "We're here." They pulled up to a nondescript building nestled in the mountains. As they exited the vehicle, a man in a lab coat hurried out to meet them. "Dr. Marcus Reeves," he introduced himself, eyes darting between Eugene and Vita with barely held back excitement. "I've been studying the Tarians since first contact. We have much to discuss." As they entered the facility, alarms began to blare. Dr. Reeves rushed to a bank of monitors, his face paling as he read the incoming data. "It's General Zex," he said, turning to face them. "He's issued an ultimatum. Either we surrender Empress Vita within 24 hours, or the Katarian fleet begins a full-scale invasion." Eugene felt Vita's grip on his hand tighten. Through their link, he sensed her willpower and a flicker of an idea forming in her mind. "We need to confront Zex directly," Vita said, her voice filled with regal authority. "But I'll need more of Eugene's essence to reach my full strength." Eugene nodded, understanding the gravity of what was being asked of him. As he looked around at the tense faces of Captain Chen and Dr. Reeves, he realized that the fate of two worlds now rested on his shoulders, and in his DNA. "Let's get to work," he said, squaring his shoulders. "We have a planet to save." "Save," Eugene finished, his voice filled with drive. Dr. Reeves nodded gravely. "We'll need to act fast. Follow me to the lab." As they hurried through the facility's sterile corridors, Eugene felt Vita's grip on his hand tighten. Through their telepathic link, he sensed a mixture of anticipation and concern. "Eugene," Vita's voice echoed in his mind, "what we're about to do, it will deepen our bond even further. Are you prepared for that?" He squeezed her hand in response, pushing aside his own doubts and fears. They had no time for hesitation. The lab was a hive of activity as they entered. Scientists in white coats rushed about, preparing equipment and studying data feeds. Dr. Reeves led them to a sectioned-off area, gesturing to a pair of reclined chairs surrounded by an array of unfamiliar devices. "This is where we'll conduct the essence transfer," Dr. Reeves explained. "It's experimental technology, but it should allow for a more concentrated and efficient process." Eugene and Vita exchanged a look before taking their places in the chairs. As the scientists attached sensors and intravenous lines, Captain Chen approached, her face set in a grim expression. "I've received word from command," she said. "We have less than 2 hours before General Zex expects a response to his ultimatum. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it fast." Dr. Reeves nodded, making final adjustments to the equipment. "We're ready to begin. Eugene, Vita, are you prepared?" They both nodded, and Dr. Reeves activated the transfer process. Eugene felt a sudden rush of energy leaving his body, accompanied by a flood of alien sensations. Through their strengthened link, he experienced Vita's transformation, as if it were happening to his own body. Her scales regained their lustrous sheen, and her eyes blazed with renewed power. As the transfer concluded, Eugene felt drained but exhilarated. Vita rose from her chair, her movements fluid and graceful. She turned to Eugene, her violet eyes filled with gratitude and something deeper. "Thank you," she said softly, helping him to his feet. "Your sacrifice will not be in vain." Dr. Reeves approached, holding a datapad. "I've been analyzing the Katarian warship's energy signatures. There's a vulnerability in their shielding that we might be able to exploit. If we can get close enough, we could potentially infiltrate the vessel." Captain Chen frowned. "How do you propose we do that? We don't have any craft capable of matching their technology." "We do now," Dr. Reeves replied, leading them to a hangar adjacent to the lab. As the doors slid open, Eugene's eyes widened at the sight of a sleek black shuttle unlike anything he'd seen before. "This is the Shadowhawk," Dr. Reeves explained. "It's a prototype stealth craft equipped with our latest cloaking technology. It should be able to get you close to the Katarian warship undetected." As the team prepared for departure, Eugene found himself alone with Vita for a moment. She placed a hand on his cheek, her touch sending a jolt of electricity through his body. "Our bond is stronger than ever," she said. "On my world, such a connection is revered. Whatever happens up there, know that you will always be a part of me." Eugene nodded, unable to find the words to express the mix of emotions swirling within him. Instead, he leaned in and kissed her, their minds merging in a moment of perfect unity. The moment was broken by Captain Chen's voice. "We're ready for takeoff. Let's move out." As they boarded the Shadowhawk, Eugene took his place at a console covered in a mix of human and Katarian interfaces. His fingers flew across the controls, the alien technology feeling strangely familiar thanks to his deepened connection with Vita. The shuttle lifted off smoothly, its advanced engines barely making a sound. As they ascended through the atmosphere, the curvature of the Earth came into view, marred by the looming presence of the Qatarian warship in orbit. "Cloaking systems engaged," Dr. Reeves announced from his station. "We're invisible to their sensors." Vida closed her eyes, concentrating. "I can sense the crew of the warship. They're on high alert, but they haven't detected us yet." As they approached the massive alien vessel, Eugene's console lit up with warnings. "Their shields are fluctuating. I think I can create an opening, but it'll only last a few seconds." Captain Chen nodded. "That's all we need. Take us in." Eugene's fingers danced across the controls, executing a series of complex maneuvers. The Shadowhawk glided through a momentary gap in the Qatarian shields, settling into a docking position on the underside of the warship. "We're in," Eugene breathed, hardly believing their success. As they prepared to board the Qatarian vessel, Vida suddenly stumbled, her scales losing some of their luster. Dr. Reeves rushed to her side, scanner in hand. "The warship's internal environment," he muttered, studying the readings. "It's interfering with Vida's ability to process Eugene's essence. We need to stabilize her condition before we can confront Zex." Eugene's mind raced, drawing on his newfound knowledge of Terrian biology. "The medical bay," he said suddenly. "If we can get there, I might be able to synthesize a more stable form of my essence using their equipment." Captain Chen checked her weapon. "It's risky, but we don't have much choice. Let's move out." As they made their way through the alien corridors, Eugene supported Vida, feeling her strength fluctuate through their bond. Captain Chen took point, her military training evident in every cautious movement. They reached the medical bay without incident, but Eugene knew their luck wouldn't hold forever. As he and Dr. Reeves worked to operate the alien equipment, Captain Chen stood guard at the entrance. "Hurry!" she hissed. "We don't have much time before they realize we're here." Eugene focused, letting his instincts guide him through the unfamiliar process. A vial of glowing blue liquid materialized in the synthesizer, and he carefully administered it to Vida. The effect was immediate. Vita's scales rippled with renewed energy, and her eyes regained their piercing intensity. But before they could celebrate their success, an alarm blared through the ship. "Intruders detected in the medical bay," a deep, menacing voice boomed over the communication system. "All troops converge on that location, and prepare the weapon systems. It's time to show Earth the consequences of defying the Qatarian Empire." Eugene's blood ran cold as he recognized the voice of General Zex. He locked eyes with Vida, seeing his own dedication reflected in her alien gaze. "We need to get to the command center," Vida said, her voice steady despite the chaos erupting around them. "It's time to end this." As they stepped out into the corridor, the sound of approaching Qatarian troops echoed from both directions. Captain Chen readied her weapon, while Dr. Reeves clutched a makeshift device he had cobbled together from the medical bay equipment. Eugene felt Vida's mind brush against his, and he knew without words what she intended to do. As the first Qatarian soldiers rounded the corner, Vida raised her hands, her eyes glowing with psychic energy. The real battle for Earth's future was about to begin. The Qatarian soldiers, caught off guard by Vida's psychic assault, stumbled backwards. Eugene seized the moment, pushing forward with Captain Chen and Dr. Reeves close behind. As they raced towards the command center, alarms blared throughout the ship. The corridor ahead filled with a pulsing red light, casting eerie shadows on the metallic walls. "The weapon systems are powering up," Eugene said, his voice tight with urgency. He turned to Vida, their eyes meeting in silent communication. Through their telepathic bond, he quickly shared his plan. Vida nodded, her scales shimmering with impossibly strong energy. "I understand. Let's do it." They burst into the command center, a cavernous room dominated by holographic displays and alien consoles. General Zex stood at the center, his massive frame silhouetted against the view of Earth below. "Ah, the traitors arrive," Zex growled, his voice dripping with contempt. "Just in time to witness the destruction of your pitiful world." Vida stepped forward, her body beginning to glow with psychic energy. "Your reign of terror ends now, Zex." As Vida focused her telepathic powers on the ship's control systems, Eugene sprinted to the nearest console. His fingers flew across the alien interface, drawing on his software engineering skills and the Qatarian knowledge he'd gained through his bond with Vida. Captain Chen and Dr. Reeves engaged Zex's guards, energy weapons discharging in brilliant flashes. Chen's military training shone through as she dodged a Katarian swipe, countering with a well-placed strike that sent the alien sprawling. Eugene's mind raced as he worked to breach the ship's security systems. Sweat beaded on his forehead, his entire being focused on redirecting the weapons array. Through the view screen, he could see the targeting systems locking onto Earth's major cities. Come on, he muttered, his fingers a blur over the controls. Suddenly, the targeting display shifted. The weapons locked onto a cluster of uninhabited asteroids in the nearby solar system. Got it, Eugene exclaimed. At that moment, Vida's telepathic broadcast reached its peak. Her voice, amplified by her powers, echoed through every corner of the ship. Soldiers of the Katarian Empire, hear me. General Zex has deceived you. I am your rightful Empress, and I command you to stand down. The command center erupted into chaos. Katarian troops turned on each other, unsure of where their loyalties should lie. Zex roared in fury, charging towards Vita with murderous intent. Dr. Reeves, seeing an opening, lunged for the environmental controls. His makeshift device, cobbled together from the medical bay equipment, interfaced with the ship's systems. The atmosphere in the command center shifted, more closely matching Earth's composition. Vita gasped as the change took effect, her connection to Eugene's essence suddenly stronger than ever. Her eyes blazed with renewed power as she extended her telepathic reach beyond the ship, touching the minds of Katarians throughout the fleet. It's working, Dr. Reeves shouted over the din of battle. Her influence is spreading. Eugene watched in awe as Vita's consciousness expanded even further, establishing a direct link with the Katarian homeworld. Her message of truth rippled across the galaxy, exposing Zex's treachery and reaffirming her rightful claim to the throne. Zex, his plan crumbling around him, snarled in defiance. He activated a hidden device on his uniform, and a new alarm blared through the command center. Self-destruct sequence initiated, an emotionless voice announced. Detonation in 10 minutes. Eugene's heart raced as he turned back to the console, frantically working to disable the self-destruct. The alien technology resisted his efforts, but he managed to extend the countdown, buying them precious time. We need to evacuate, Captain Chen yelled, dispatching the last of Zex's loyal guards. Eugene nodded, his fingers flying over the controls once more. Initiating emergency evacuation protocol. Throughout the ship, escape pods began launching, carrying the now loyal Katarian crew to safety. But as Eugene looked at his human companions, he realized they faced a new challenge. The escape pods won't work for us, he said grimly. We need to find another way out. As if in response to his words, a violent tremor shook the ship. Sparks erupted from damaged consoles, and the lights flickered ominously. This way, Vita called, leading them out of the command center and into the chaotic corridors beyond. They raced through the ship, dodging debris and battling the few remaining loyalists to General Zex. They reached the hangar bay, panting and bruised but alive. A sleek Katarian shuttle sat waiting, its design clearly capable of supporting both human and Katarian life. As they approached the shuttle, a roar of rage echoed through the hangar. General Zex appeared, his massive frame battered and bleeding, but still radiating menace. You will not escape, he bellowed, charging towards them with reckless abandon. Eugene stepped forward, placing himself between Zex and his companions. He could feel Vita's hesitation through their bond, her desire to fight by his side, warring with the need to ensure their escape. Go, Eugene shouted, not taking his eyes off the approaching Katarian general. Get the shuttle ready. I'll hold him off. As Zex closed the distance, Eugene steeled himself for the confrontation. The fate of two worlds hung in the balance, and he knew that his next actions would determine not only his own survival, but the future of Earth and the Katarian Empire. With a deep breath, Eugene prepared to face the enraged alien, his mind racing to find a way to neutralize the threat once and for all. Ever. As Zex barreled towards him, Eugene's mind raced. He glanced at the nearby control panel, an idea forming. In one fluid motion, he lunged for the panel, his fingers dancing across the alien interface with newfound confidence. Suddenly, the hangar bay's artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. Zex, caught mid-charge, stumbled and flailed as his massive frame became momentarily weightless. Eugene seized the opportunity, pushing off from the panel and colliding with the Catarian general. They grappled in the shifting gravity, Eugene's smaller size allowing him to maneuver more easily. Zex roared in frustration, his claws raking the air inches from Eugene's face. Vita, standing at the shuttle's entrance, felt Eugene struggle through their bond. She hesitated, torn between ensuring their escape and aiding her partner. Making a split-second decision, she closed her eyes and extended her telepathic reach. Throughout the ship, the remaining loyal Tarian crew members felt Vita's presence in their minds. Her thoughts flowed through them, coordinating their efforts with supernatural precision. In the hangar, more shuttles powered up as crews prepared them for the other evacuees. Captain Chen sprinted from the shuttle, her military training evident in every movement. She joined the fray, delivering a series of precise strikes to Zex's vulnerable points. "Eugene," Dr. Reeves called out from the shuttle. "The base of his skull. There's a cluster of nerve endings." Eugene nodded, understanding instantly. He wrapped his arms around Zex's thick neck, searching for the spot Dr. Reeves had indicated. His fingers found a slight indentation, and he pressed hard. Zex's eyes rolled back, his massive body going limp. The three humans worked together to drag the unconscious Catarian general towards their shuttle. As they secured Zex, chaos erupted in the hangar. A group of the general's loyalists emerged, energy weapons blazing. Evacuees scattered, seeking cover behind crates and machinery. Eugene's eyes darted to a console near the hangar's entrance. "Cover me!" he shouted to Captain Chen, who nodded and laid down suppressing fire. Ducking and weaving through the firefight, Eugene reached the console. His fingers flew across the controls, reprogramming the hangar's automated defense systems. With a satisfying beep, the ceiling-mounted turrets swiveled and opened fire on Zex's supporters. Under the cover of the turrets, the remaining loyal Catarians rushed to the waiting shuttles. Eugene sprinted back to their own craft, diving through the hatch as Captain Chen provided covering fire. "We're clear!" Chen called out as she backed into the shuttle, the door sealing behind her. The ship's self-destruct sequence entered its final countdown. Warning klaxons blared, and the hangar began to decompress. Vita took the pilot's seat, Eugene sliding in beside her. Their minds merged as they interfaced with the shuttle's controls. The craft lifted off smoothly, gliding out of the hangar just as explosive bolts blew the massive bay doors. They emerged into the vastness of space, accompanied by dozens of escape pods. Behind them, the Catarian warship shuddered. Explosions rippled across its surface, culminating in a blinding flash that momentarily outshone the sun. The shockwave hit their shuttle like a physical blow, tossing them like a leaf in a storm. Eugene gritted his teeth, his hands moving in perfect synchronization with Vita's as they fought to stabilize the craft. Around them, escape pods tumbled out of control, some trailing debris and venting atmosphere. "We need to help them," Vita said, her voice strained with the effort of piloting and maintaining her telepathic connection to the survivors. Eugene nodded, already adjusting their course. They weaved through the debris field, extending their shuttle shields to encompass damaged escape pods. Captain Chen and Dr. Reeves worked in the back, coordinating with the rescued Catarians and treating injuries. As they descended towards Earth, Vita's telepathic voice reached out across the vast distances of space. On the Catarian homeworld, confused leaders received her message, learning of Zex's treachery and her rightful claim to the throne. Throughout the solar system, other Catarian ships powered down their weapons, standing down at their Empress's command. The shuttle entered Earth's atmosphere, the hull glowing red-hot. Eugene guided them towards the secret facility where they had first met Dr. Reeves, his enhanced abilities making the difficult re-entry seem almost easy. As they broke through the cloud cover, multiple blips appeared on their sensors. Human military aircraft converged on their position, no doubt alerted by the massive explosion in orbit. "This is going to be tricky," Eugene muttered, eyeing the approaching fighters. Vita nodded, her scales shimmering with tension. "We need to convince them we're not a threat before they open fire." Eugene opened a communication channel, preparing to broadcast their intentions. As he did, he caught Vita's eye. In that moment, he realized how much had changed in the past few hours. He was no longer just Eugene Kim, software engineer from Seattle. He was something more, a bridge between two worlds, bound to the Katarian Empress in ways he was only beginning to understand. The implications of their relationship, of the events they had set in motion, loomed large in his mind. But as the human fighters drew closer and the weight of their responsibilities pressed down upon them, Eugene felt a surge of willpower. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he and Vita would face them together. The future of human-Katarian relations hung in the balance, and they were at the very center of it all. "This is Eugene Kim," he broadcast, his voice steady despite the tension. "We're coming in peace with vital information and prisoners." As they awaited a response, Eugene and Vita exchanged a look of silent understanding. Their journey was a long way to go, but they were ready for whatever came next. As Eugene awaited a response from the approaching fighter jets, the tension in the shuttle was palpable. Vita's scales shimmered with anxiety, her telepathic link to Eugene conveying her unease. The seconds ticked by, feeling like an eternity. Finally, a crackle of static broke the silence. "Unidentified craft. This is Captain Rodriguez of the United States Air Force. You are ordered to follow us to a designated landing zone. Any deviation from our flight path will be considered hostile action." Eugene exchanged a glance with Vita before responding. "Understood, Captain. We'll comply." The shuttle fell into formation with the fighter jets, descending through layers of clouds. As they broke through, Eugene caught sight of their destination, a sprawling complex of buildings and runways, partially concealed by the surrounding forest. "That must be the secret facility," Dr. Reeves muttered, peering over Eugene's shoulder. The shuttle touched down on a specially prepared landing pad, surrounded by a sea of flashing lights and armed personnel. As the engines powered down, Eugene took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. The moment the hatch opened, they were engulfed in a flurry of activity. Soldiers with weapons trained on them shouted orders, while hazmat-suited figures approached cautiously. "Hands where we can see them," a stern voice commanded. Eugene, Vita, Captain Chen, and Dr. Reeves complied, slowly exiting the shuttle with their hands raised. They were immediately surrounded and separated, each led to a different waiting vehicle. As Eugene was ushered away, he caught a glimpse of a team of soldiers cautiously entering the shuttle, no doubt to secure General Zex. He tried to crane his neck for one last look at Vita, but a firm hand on his shoulder pushed him forward. "Keep moving," a gruff voice ordered. Eugene found himself in a sterile white room, seated across from a stern-faced man in a crisp suit. The man introduced himself as Agent Donovan and began a grueling series of questions about the events on the Tarian warship. Hours passed as Eugene recounted every detail, from his initial abduction to the final confrontation with General Zex. He emphasized Vita's crucial role in averting the invasion and the potential for peaceful cooperation between humans and Tarians. "And this bond you share with the alien Empress," Agent Donovan said, leaning forward. "Can you describe it in more detail?" Eugene hesitated, unsure how to explain something so intimate and otherworldly. "It's like a constant awareness of each other. We can share thoughts, emotions, even sensations. It's what allowed us to work together so effectively on the ship." Agent Donovan's eyes narrowed. "And you don't see this as a potential security risk? Having an alien entity with direct access to your mind?" "No," Eugene said firmly. "Vita has only ever used our connection to help. She saved Earth, saved me. We need to work with her, not against her." As the questioning continued, Eugene became aware of a commotion outside the room. Raised voices and hurried footsteps echoed through the hallway. Suddenly, the door burst open, and a woman in a lab coat rushed in, her eyes wide with excitement. "Agent Donovan, you need to see this," she said breathlessly. The agent frowned but followed her out, leaving Eugene alone in the room. Minutes ticked by, his anxiety growing with each passing moment. When the door finally opened again, it wasn't Agent Donovan who entered, but a new face. "Mr. Kim," the woman said, extending her hand. "I'm Dr. Amanda Reeves, Marcus's sister. I've been examining your Katarian friend, and well, we've made some remarkable discoveries." Eugene shook her hand, his curiosity piqued. What kind of discoveries? Dr. Amanda Reeves's eyes sparkled with scientific enthusiasm. Vita's physiology has undergone subtle but significant changes. We believe it's a result of her prolonged exposure to your essence, for lack of a better term. These changes have enhanced her ability to process human biochemistry and have strengthened her telepathic abilities. Eugene's mind raced with the implications. Is she okay? Can I see her? Dr. Reeves nodded. She's fine. In fact, she's more than fine. But there's more we need to discuss. Come with me. As they exited the room, Eugene was struck by the hive of activity around them. Military personnel rushed back and forth, while clusters of scientists huddled over tablets, engaged in heated discussions. Dr. Reeves led Eugene to a large conference room where several high-ranking officials were already gathered. He spotted Captain Chen in a deep conversation with a group of military officers, while Dr. Marcus Reeves was gesticulating excitedly to a panel of scientists. As Eugene entered, all eyes turned to him. He felt a sudden wave of self-consciousness, acutely aware of his disheveled appearance and the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. A distinguished-looking man in a general's uniform stepped forward. "Mr. Kim, I'm General Hawthorne. We've been briefed on the situation and we have some decisions to make. But first, I believe there's someone you'd like to see." The general nodded to a side door, which opened to reveal Vita. Eugene's heart leapt at the sight of her, and he could feel their bond surging back to full strength. Without thinking, he rushed forward, embracing her tightly. The room fell silent as they held each other, their connection visibly intensifying. Eugene could feel Vita's relief, her joy at their reunion, and beneath it all, a newfound strength coursing through her. As they reluctantly separated, General Hawthorne cleared his throat. "Well, that was illuminating. Now let's get down to business. We need to discuss the future of human-Qatarian relations, and it seems you two are at the center of it all." Eugene nodded, his hands still intertwined with Vita's. He could sense the mix of fear, curiosity, and hope emanating from the humans around them. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew that their bond would be the key to navigating this new frontier. As the meeting began, Eugene couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much larger adventure. The fate of two worlds hung in the balance, and he and Vita were about to step into a role neither of them could have imagined. Eugene's mind raced as he absorbed the gravity of the situation. The fate of two worlds hung in the balance, and he and Vita were at the center of it all. As the meeting in the conference room began, a sudden commotion outside interrupted their discussions. Alarms blared, and the room's occupants tensed. General Hawthorne's comm device crackled to life. "Sir, we have a situation. Colonel Hargrove's separatist forces have launched an attack on the convoy transporting the Qatarian prisoners." The general's face hardened. "Mr. Kim, Empress Vita, we need your assistance. The convoy is under heavy fire, and our defenses are failing." Without hesitation, Eugene and Vita nodded in unison. They were quickly ushered to an awaiting transport vehicle, joined by Captain Chen and a mixed team of human and Qatarian security personnel. As they sped towards the conflict zone, Eugene felt Vita's hand slip into his. Their eyes met, a silent understanding passing between them. They would face this threat together, their unique bond, their greatest asset. The transport screeched to a halt at the edge of a chaotic battlefield. Smoke billowed from disabled vehicles, and the air crackled with weapons fire. Eugene's heart raced as he took in the scene, his enhanced senses processing the danger around them. Captain Chen's voice cut through the chaos. "We need to reach the lead transport. It's carrying the most critical Qatarian prisoners, including General Zex." Eugene and Vita exchanged a determined look. They knew what they had to do. As they exited the vehicle, a hail of gunfire forced them to take cover. Eugene's enhanced reflexes allowed him to pull Vita behind a concrete barrier, just as a volley of bullets whizzed past. "We need to activate the Qatarian defense systems," Vita shouted over the din of battle. "But I can't do it alone. I need your help, Eugene." Understanding dawned on Eugene. Their bond, their combined abilities. It was the key. He reached out, grasping Vita's hand firmly in his own. The moment their skin made contact, Eugene felt a surge of energy coursing through him. Together, they focused their minds on the transport vehicle before them. Eugene's software engineering background merged with Vita's innate knowledge of Katarian technology. Symbols and codes flashed through their shared consciousness. Suddenly, the transport hummed to life. A shimmering blue barrier materialized around it, deflecting incoming fire with ease. The Separatists intensified their assault, but their weapons proved ineffective against the newly activated shield. Colonel Hargrove's voice boomed across the battlefield. "Bring out the heavy artillery. We will not let these aliens corrupt our world." Rocket launchers and experimental EMP devices were rolled into position. The Separatists unleashed a barrage of advanced weaponry, each impact weakening the energy barrier protecting the transport. Eugene and Vita strained to maintain their connection, their joined hands trembling with the effort. Sweat beaded on Eugene's forehead as he poured every ounce of his concentration into sustaining the shield. As they struggled to keep the defenses up, Eugene's enhanced vision caught sight of something on the transport's control panel. A series of alien symbols flickered to life, pulsing with an otherworldly energy. "Vita," he gasped, his voice strained. "I think I've found something. A weapon system, but it needs some kind of genetic key to activate." Vita's eyes widened in realization. "My royal DNA, combined with your human essence, it might be enough to unlock it." Their eyes met, an unspoken understanding passing between them. In the midst of the chaos, they leaned towards each other. Their lips met in a brief but intense kiss, their genetic material mingling in a moment of intimacy. As they parted, the control panel erupted with light. Hidden compartments in the transport slid open, revealing sleek energy cannons. The weapons came to life, automatically targeting the Separatist forces with deadly precision. Colonel Hargrove's troops scattered as beams of concentrated energy cut through their ranks. The tide of battle shifted dramatically, the Separatists now on the defensive. Captain Chen seized the opportunity, rallying the combined human and Katarian security forces. They pushed forward, using the cover provided by the transport's weapons to gain ground. As the Separatists began to retreat, the distant whump-whump of helicopter blades filled the air. Dr. Amanda Reeves had arrived with reinforcements, her foresight proving invaluable once again. The Separatist forces, caught between the transport's advanced weaponry and the approaching air support, had no choice but to withdraw. Colonel Hargrove, his face contorted with fury, barked orders for a full retreat. As the sounds of battle faded, Eugene and Vita emerged from behind their cover. Their hands remained intertwined, their bond visibly stronger than ever before. The surviving security forces looked at them with a mixture of awe and respect, having witnessed the power of their cooperation firsthand. Dr. Amanda Reeves landed nearby, her team of researchers and medical personnel fanning out to assess the situation. Her eyes widened as she took in the activated Katarian defenses and weapon systems. "Incredible," she breathed, approaching Eugene and Vita. "The symbiosis between you two, it's unlike anything we've ever seen. This could change everything." As the immediate danger passed, Eugene became acutely aware of the weight of what had just transpired. Their actions today would have far-reaching consequences, not just for them, but for the future of human-Katarian relations. Dr. Reeves pulled them aside, her voice low and urgent. "We need to get you two to a secure facility immediately. What you've demonstrated here, it's going to attract a lot of attention, both good and bad." Eugene and Vita nodded, understanding the gravity of their situation. As they were led towards a waiting helicopter, Eugene caught sight of Colonel Hargrove in the distance. The man's eyes burned with a mixture of hatred and tenacity before he disappeared into the wilderness. This battle was over, but Eugene knew it was just the beginning of a much larger conflict. As the helicopter lifted off, carrying them towards an uncertain future, he squeezed Vita's hand. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. As the helicopter touched down at the heavily guarded research facility, Eugene's eyes widened at the sight of the sprawling complex nestled in the remote mountainous region. The imposing structures seemed to merge with the rugged landscape, a testament to the cutting-edge technology housed within. Dr. Amanda Reeves stepped forward to greet them as they disembarked. "Welcome to Project Symbiosis," she said, her voice filled with impossibly strong excitement. We've been eagerly awaiting your arrival. Eugene and Vita exchanged a glance, their hands instinctively finding each other as they followed Dr. Reeves into the main building. The pristine white corridors bustled with activity, human and Qatarian scientists working side by side in a harmony that would have seemed impossible just weeks ago. As they entered a large examination room, Eugene felt a twinge of apprehension. The array of unfamiliar equipment and the intense gazes of the assembled research team made him acutely aware of how much had changed in such a short time. We'll need to run a series of tests to measure the extent of your symbiotic relationship, Dr. Reeves explained, gesturing to a pair of advanced medical pods. Please, make yourselves comfortable. Eugene hesitated for a moment before stepping into one of the pods. As the transparent cover slid shut, he felt a momentary panic, quickly soothed by Vita's reassuring presence in his mind. The test seemed to go on for hours. Eugene felt prodded, scanned, and analyzed in ways he'd never experienced before. Through it all, he could sense Vita's calm purpose, anchoring him amidst the whirlwind of activity. As the final test concluded, Dr. Reeves approached them, her eyes shining with amazement. The results are extraordinary, she breathed. Eugene, your DNA shows signs of incorporating Qatarian genetic markers. And Vita, your scales now contain trace amounts of human DNA. Eugene flexed his hand, suddenly aware of a new strength coursing through his muscles. His mind felt sharper, more attuned to the technology surrounding them. What does this mean? He asked. Dr. Reeves smiled. It means you're evolving together, adapting to each other in ways we never thought possible. This could be the key to unlocking new forms of human-Qatarian cooperation. Over the next few days, Eugene and Vita were asked to demonstrate their ability to jointly operate Qatarian technology. They stood before a sleek alien console, its surface covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change. Eugene placed his hand on the console, feeling the familiar tingle of Qatarian tech beneath his fingers. Vita's hand joined his, and suddenly the console sprang to life. Holographic displays filled the air around them, responding to their thoughts with startling precision. The assembled scientists watched in awe as Eugene and Vita effortlessly navigated complex Qatarian systems, their movements perfectly synchronized. It was as if they had become a single entity, human and Qatarian minds working in perfect harmony. As the days wore on, however, the constant scrutiny began to take its toll. Eugene found himself growing irritable, the lack of privacy and endless tests wearing on his nerves. He could feel Vita's frustration mirroring his own, their bond straining under the pressure. Dr. Reeves, ever observant, noticed the change in their demeanor. I think it's time we implemented a new protocol, she announced one morning. You'll have dedicated time alone each day. It's crucial that we maintain the strength of your bond. Grateful for the reprieve, Eugene and Vita retreated to their private quarters. As the door closed behind them, Eugene felt a wave of relief wash over him. He turned to Vita, seeing his own emotions reflected in her alien eyes. Without a word, they came together, their lips meeting in a passionate kiss. The familiar surge of energy flowed between them, intensifying with each passing moment. As their intimacy deepened, Eugene felt a sudden, overwhelming rush of psychic energy. The lights in the room flickered and died. In the distance, they could hear the sound of alarms blaring. Eugene and Vita broke apart, panting, as they realized the magnitude of what had just occurred. Dr. Reeves burst into the room, her face a mixture of concern and fascination. What happened? She demanded. The entire facility just experienced a massive power surge. Several Qatarian devices activated spontaneously. Eugene and Vita exchanged a guilty look, their cheeks flushed with embarrassment. I think we might have caused that, Eugene admitted sheepishly. As the implications of this latest development sank in, Eugene couldn't help but wonder what other surprises their evolving bond might hold. The line between human and Qatarian was blurring, and with it, the future of both their species hung in the balance. Little did they know, news of the energy surge was already spreading beyond the confines of Project Symbiosis, setting in motion a chain of events that would soon test their bond in ways they could never have imagined. In the days that followed, Eugene and Vita found themselves thrust into a whirlwind of activity as preparations for the Mars mission intensified. The Project Symbiosis facility buzzed with a palpable energy, scientists and engineers working around the clock to finalize every detail of the groundbreaking expedition. Eugene and Vita's training regimen grew increasingly rigorous. They spent hours each day in specialized simulators, their minds melding as they jointly operated replicas of Catarian spacecraft and alien technology. The symbiotic bond between them strengthened with each passing moment, allowing them to achieve unprecedented levels of control over the complex systems. During one particularly intense session, Eugene felt his consciousness stretching, reaching out to intertwine with Vita's in a way he had never experienced before. Their minds fused, becoming a single entity of human ingenuity and Catarian intuition. The simulator around them hummed with energy, responding to their combined will with startling precision. Suddenly, a surge of power coursed through the system. Alarms blared as sparks flew from the control panels. Eugene and Vita snapped back to individual awareness, their connection broken by the chaos erupting around them. Dr. Reeves burst into the room, her face a mask of concern. "What happened?" she demanded, surveying the damage. Eugene shook his head, still dazed from the experience. "I'm not sure. We were connected and then—" "The energy output spiked beyond anything we've ever recorded," one of the technicians reported, staring at a readout in disbelief. As the team worked to contain the situation, Eugene noticed Dr. Reeves exchanging worried glances with her colleagues. The incident had raised new questions about the nature of their bond and its potential consequences. In the following weeks, Eugene began to notice subtle changes in his body. His skin took on a faint, iridescent sheen reminiscent of Vita's scales. He found himself moving with increased grace and strength, his reflexes sharper than ever before. During a routine medical examination, Dr. Reeves confirmed his suspicions. "Your body is adapting," she explained, her voice a mixture of excitement and concern. "It seems to be preparing itself for the rigors of space travel and the Martian environment." The revelation accelerated the mission timeline. Fear that these changes might be temporary added a new sense of urgency to their preparations. As the launch date approached, Eugene sensed a growing unease in Vita. One night, as they lay in bed, she turned to him, her eyes filled with worry. "I've received news from home," she said softly. "Lord Zarax is rallying support against me. He's presented evidence of my physical changes to the High Council, claiming I'm a threat to the purity of our species." Eugene took her hand, feeling the familiar tingle of their connection. "What does this mean for the mission?" Vita's gaze hardened with willpower. "It means we cannot fail. The success of this mission is now crucial to maintaining my claim to the throne." The weight of their responsibility settled over them like a heavy cloak. The fate of two worlds now rested on their shoulders. As final preparations for launch were made, a new face appeared at the facility. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a renowned xenobiologist, arrived as part of the International Oversight Committee. Her piercing gaze seemed to take in every detail as she moved through the complex, asking pointed questions about the safety of the human-Catarian symbiosis. On the morning of the launch, Eugene and Vita stood before the sleek Catarian spacecraft that would carry them to Mars. Its design, a fusion of human and alien technology, represented the pinnacle of interspecies cooperation. As they boarded the vessel, Eugene noticed Dr. Tanaka making last-minute adjustments to the life support systems. A flicker of unease passed through him, but he pushed it aside, focusing on the monumental task ahead. The launch sequence began, and Eugene felt Vita's mind merge with his own. Together, they guided the ship through Earth's atmosphere with unparalleled precision. As they broke free of the planet's gravitational pull, a sense of exhilaration washed over them. Their elation was short-lived. As they approached the moon, alarms began to blare throughout the vessel. Eugene's hands flew over the control panel, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to respond with lightning speed. "We're veering off course," Vita reported, her voice tense. "Life support systems are failing." Eugene's mind raced, trying to understand what had gone wrong. Then a chilling realization struck him. The adjustments Dr. Tanaka had made, could they have been sabotage? With no time to dwell on the possibility, Eugene and Vita poured all their energy into their symbiotic link. Their consciousness merged once again, becoming a single entity focused solely on survival. As the ship tumbled through, Space, systems failing around them, Eugene and Vita fought to regain control. Their combined skills pushed the alien technology to its limits, seeking a way to stabilize their trajectory and restore life support. The fate of two worlds hung in the balance as they raced against time, their unprecedented bond their only hope for survival. As they struggled to overcome the unseen forces conspiring against them, one thing became clear. This was only the beginning of their greatest challenge yet. As they struggled to overcome the unseen forces conspiring against them, Eugene and Vita's minds merged into a singular consciousness, their symbiotic bond pushing the limits of human and Katarian physiology. The ship's alarms blared incessantly, a cacophony of urgent warnings that demanded immediate action. Eugene's fingers flew across the control panel, his enhanced cognitive abilities processing the flood of information at lightning speed. "The life support and navigation systems are failing," he reported, his voice tense. "It's a cascading failure, triggered by sabotage." Vita's eyes widened in shock. "Sabotage? But who?" She broke off, remembering Dr. Tanaka's last-minute adjustments. There was no time to dwell on the betrayal now. Drawing on her Royal Katarian training, Vita accessed the ship's emergency protocols. "I'm initiating the fail-safes," she announced, her scaled hands dancing over the alien interface. "It should stabilize our trajectory, but the life support systems are still deteriorating." Eugene glanced at the rapidly dropping oxygen levels. "We're running out of time," he said, his mind racing for a solution. Suddenly an idea struck him. Risky, unconventional, but potentially their only hope. "Vita," he said, turning to face her, "our symbiotic bond. What if we could use it to generate enough bioelectric energy to jumpstart the backup systems?" Vita's eyes met his, understanding dawning. "You mean through intimate contact? It could work, but Eugene, it might accelerate the physical changes we've been experiencing." "We don't have a choice," Eugene replied, already moving closer to her. "It's this, or suffocate in the void of space." As their bodies came together, the familiar surge of energy intensified tenfold. Eugene gasped as he felt his skin tingle and transform, the iridescent sheen of Tarian scales spreading across his entire body. Vita shuddered, her core temperature rising to match human norms. The ship around them hummed with building energy. Lights flickered back to life, and the urgent beeping of alarms began to subside. As their intimate act reached its peak, a massive surge of bioelectric energy coursed through the vessel. Suddenly, an unexpected whine filled the air. The experimental quantum communication array, overloaded by the energy surge, crackled with otherworldly power. Before Eugene and Vita could react, space itself seemed to tear open before their ship. "Wormhole!" Vita cried out, but her warning came too late. The Katarian vessel was violently pulled into the swirling vortex of space-time, tumbling end over end through the fabric of the universe. As quickly as it began, the journey ended. The ship emerged from the wormhole with a bone-jarring lurch, stabilizing in an unknown region of space. Eugene and Vita, still entwined, stared out the view screen in awe. Before them loomed an enormous space station, its design unlike anything they had ever seen. Sleek, organic curves melded seamlessly with gleaming metal, suggesting a level of technology far beyond both human and Tarian capabilities. "Where are we?" Eugene whispered, his newly scaled skin shimmering in the dim light of the cockpit. Before Vita could respond, a gentle force gripped their ship. "We're caught in a tractor beam," she reported, watching helplessly as the vessel was guided towards a docking bay on the mysterious station. As they touched down, the ship's systems powered down automatically. Eugene and Vita exchanged a look, both exhilarated and terrified by the unknown that awaited them. "Whatever's out there," Eugene said, reaching for Vita's hand, "we face it together." They made their way to the airlock, their bodies still tingling from their intimate encounter in the wormhole journey. As the door hissed open, they stepped out onto the alien station, ready to face whatever fate had in store for them. A shimmering light coalesced before them, taking the form of a tall, androgynous being. Its voice, when it spoke, seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Welcome, Eugene and Vita," the being said, its tone warm and inviting. "I am Zephyr, the AI overseer of this station. We've been expecting you for a very long time. Eugene and Vita exchanged a startled glance. You know who we are? Vita asked, her royal training kicking in as she straightened her posture. Zephyr's holographic form nodded. Indeed, your arrival has been foretold in prophecies across many galactic civilizations. Two beings from different worlds, joined in a symbiotic bond, destined to usher in a new era of interspecies cooperation. Eugene's mind reeled at the implications. But how? Why us? This station, known as the Nexus, is a hub for intergalactic diplomacy and scientific exchange, Zephyr explained. We have been monitoring both Earth and the Katarian Empire for millennia, waiting for the right moment to make contact. Your unique bond and the crisis facing both your worlds have triggered this long-awaited intervention. As Eugene and Vita struggled to process this information, Zephyr's expression grew serious. Now you face a choice. You can return to your star systems with advanced technology and knowledge to help willpower the conflicts threatening both your species. Or you can remain here at the Nexus, learning to harness the full potential of your symbiotic bond and potentially becoming ambassadors to a much larger galactic community. The weight of the decision hung heavy in the air. Eugene and Vita looked at each other, their newly transformed bodies a testament to how far they had already come. The fate of their worlds, and perhaps the entire galaxy, now rested in their hands. The enormity of the choice before them was staggering, but as Eugene met Vita's gaze, he saw the same commitment reflected in her eyes that he felt in his heart. We need to learn more, Eugene said, turning back to Zephyr. But we can't abandon our people. Is there a way we can stay here temporarily while still communicating with Earth and the Katarian Empire? Zephyr's holographic form shimmered with approval. A wise decision. Follow me to our communications center, and we'll establish secure channels to your homeworlds. As they walked through the station's curved corridors, Eugene and Vita marveled at the seamless blend of organic and technological elements. The walls pulsed with a soft, bioluminescent glow, responding to their presence. In the communications center, Eugene and Vita worked side by side, their fingers dancing across alien interfaces with surprising ease. Their symbiotic bond allowed them to understand and operate the advanced technology intuitively. Dr. Reeves needs to know we're alive, Eugene muttered, composing a message to Earth. And we have to warn her about the sabotage attempt. Vita nodded, her own message taking shape on the screen before her. I must reach my loyalists before Xerax can consolidate his power. Our absence could be disastrous for the Empire. With Zephyr's guidance, they encoded their messages with quantum encryption, ensuring they would reach only their intended recipients. As the transmissions were sent hurtling across the vast expanse of space, Eugene and Vita felt a weight lift from their shoulders. Now, Zephyr said, its voice filled with anticipation, let us begin your education. The following days were a whirlwind of discovery. Zephyr introduced them to Ambassador Xyla, a being that seemed to be composed entirely of living crystal. Xyla's multifaceted body refracted light in mesmerizing patterns as she spoke, her voice a melodious chime. Welcome to the Nexus, Xyla greeted them, extending a crystalline appendage in greeting. I'll be your guide as you explore our knowledge banks and meet representatives from across the galaxy. Eugene and Vita spent hours immersed in the station's vast archives, their minds linked as they absorbed millennia of information. They learned of countless civilizations, technologies beyond their wildest imaginations, and the complex web of alliances and conflicts that shape galactic politics. One day, as they pored over ancient star charts, Eugene stumbled upon a startling discovery. Vita, look at this, he called, his voice filled with excitement. There are records of human Katarian pairings throughout history. Vita leaned in, her eyes widening as she scanned the information. But they all failed due to genetic incompatibility, she murmured. Eugene, do you realize what this means? He nodded, the implications sinking in. Our bond isn't just a fluke. It's the result of thousands of years of evolution. We're the first successful human-Katarian symbiosis in recorded history. Their discovery caught the attention of the Nexus Council, a diverse group of beings representing the most advanced species in the galaxy. The council requested a series of tests to study Eugene and Vita's unique bond. Zephyr led them to a chamber unlike anything they had seen before. Its walls shimmered with an otherworldly energy, and at its center stood two pod-like structures. "This is the harmonic chamber," Zephyr explained. "It's designed to enhance and stabilize symbiotic connections. Your time here will strengthen your bond and may unlock new abilities." As Eugene and Vita entered the pods, they felt an immediate surge of energy. Their consciousnesses merged more completely than ever before, transcending the boundaries of their physical bodies. In this state of perfect unity, they experienced flashes of insight and power. Eugene gasped as he felt his mind expand, suddenly aware of a vast network of thoughts and emotions stretching across space. "Vita," he called out, his voice filled with awe. "I can sense the Tarian telepathic network." Vita, meanwhile, felt her body changing at a cellular level. "My metabolism," she exclaimed. "It's adapting to process human nutrients. I'm becoming less dependent on your essence for survival." Their evolving abilities did not go unnoticed. Members of the Nexus Council observed their progress with growing interest, seeing in Eugene and Vita the potential for a new era of interspecies cooperation. Not everyone on the Nexus welcomed this development, however. As Eugene and Vita emerged from another session in the harmonic chamber, they overheard a heated conversation between Ambassador Zyla and a shadowy figure. "The Shroud Collective fears their union," the figure hissed, its form seeming to waver and shift. "If other species follow their example, the balance of power in the galaxy will be upended." Zyla's crystalline form pulsed with agitation. "The human and the Qatarian have as much right to be here as any of us. Their bond could be the key to—" The conversation cut off abruptly as the speakers noticed Eugene and Vita's presence. The shadowy figure dissipated like smoke, leaving only a lingering sense of unease. As Eugene and Vita continued their training, they couldn't shake the feeling that unseen forces were working against them. The Nexus, for all its wonders, was becoming a crucible of conflicting interests and hidden agendas. Their focus was drawn back to their home worlds when Zephyr announced the impending arrival of a delegation from Earth in the Qatarian Empire. A galactic conference was being convened to discuss the implications of human-Qatarian symbiosis and its potential impact on interstellar relations. "This is our chance," Vita said, her eyes shining with dedication. "We can show them what we've learned, demonstrate the benefits of our bond." Eugene nodded, already formulating plans for their presentation. "But we'll have to be careful. If the Shroud Collective sees us as a threat, they might try to sabotage the conference." As they prepared for the arrival of their people and the challenges that lay ahead, Eugene and Vita knew that the true test of their bond was yet to come. The fate of two worlds, and perhaps the entire galaxy, would hinge on their ability to bridge the gap between species and overcome the forces that sought to keep them apart. As Eugene and Vita continued their preparations for the Galactic Conference, they found themselves spending increasingly long hours in the harmonic chamber. The pod-like structures hummed with energy, bathing them in a soft, pulsating light that seemed to resonate with their very cells. Eugene felt his mind expanding, reaching out across vast distances. He closed his eyes, concentrating on the faint whispers of thought that brushed against his consciousness. Suddenly, he felt a familiar presence. "Vita?" he called out, not with his voice, but with his mind. "I'm here, Eugene," came the clear reply, despite Vita being in the pod next to him. "Your range is improving. Can you sense the others?" Eugene focused, pushing his awareness further. He caught fleeting glimpses of other minds, the orderly thoughts of Qatarian officers, the chaotic buzz of civilian telepaths. "It's incredible," he breathed. "I can feel the entire network." Meanwhile, Vita's body tingled with a strange sensation. She watched in fascination as her skin shifted, taking on a more human-like texture. Her internal organs rearranged themselves, adapting to process a wider range of nutrients. The changes were subtle but profound, allowing her to thrive in environments that would have once been hostile to her Tarian physiology. As they emerged from the chamber, Ambassador Zyla greeted them, her crystalline form refracting the light in dazzling patterns. "Excellent progress," she chimed. "Now, let's refine your presentation for the conference." They spent hours compiling data, crafting compelling arguments for the benefits of human-Catarian symbiosis. Eugene's scientific background proved invaluable as they detailed potential advancements in medicine and technology. Vida's diplomatic training shone through as she framed their bond in terms of improved interspecies, communication, and cooperation. "We should demonstrate our enhanced abilities," Vida suggested. "Seeing is believing, after all." Eugene nodded, already envisioning a series of tests that would showcase their unique capabilities. As the day of the conference approached, the Nexus buzzed with activity. Delegates from countless worlds arrived, filling the station with a cacophony of languages and a riot of alien forms. Eugene and Vida watched from a viewport as ship after ship docked, each bearing representatives eager to witness the next chapter in galactic relations. Zephyr's holographic form materialized beside them. "Security has been increased," the AI informed them. "We've detected some concerning chatter from the Shroud Collective." "Are we in danger?" Eugene asked, instinctively moving closer to Vida. "Precautions have been taken," Zephyr assured them. "Commander Kraz will be personally overseeing your security detail." As if summoned by his name, the imposing reptilian figure of Commander Kraz approached. His scales shimmered with an iridescent sheen, and his yellow eyes fixed on Eugene and Vida with unwavering focus. "I will ensure your safety," Kraz rumbled, his voice deep and resonant. "No harm will come to you under my watch." The day before the conference, a familiar face arrived with the Earth delegation. Dr. Amanda Reeves stepped off the shuttle, her eyes immediately searching the crowd. When she spotted Eugene, relief washed over her features. "Eugene!" she called out, rushing to embrace him. As she pulled back, her gaze flickered to Vida, curiosity and caution warring in her expression. "Dr. Reeves," Eugene greeted her warmly. "It's good to see you. This is Vida, my partner." Reeves nodded politely to Vida before turning back to Eugene, her expression growing serious. "We need to talk. There have been developments on Earth." They found a quiet corner where Dr. Reeves could brief them. "Colonel Hargrove's separatist movement is gaining traction," she explained. "Your prolonged absence has fueled speculation. Some are questioning your loyalty to humanity, Eugene." Eugene felt a cold knot form in his stomach. "They think I've been corrupted?" Reeves nodded grimly. "You'll need to make a strong case tomorrow. Show them that this bond benefits humanity." Before Eugene could respond, a commotion near the docking bay caught their attention. A sleek Catarian vessel had arrived, its hull gleaming with the royal insignia. As the airlock cycled open, a familiar figure emerged. "Lord Zarax!" Vida hissed, her body tensing. The Catarian noble strode confidently into the station, his eyes scanning the crowd until they locked onto Vida. A cold smile spread across his face as he approached. "Princess Vida," he said, his voice dripping with false courtesy. "How kind of you to arrange this little gathering in my honor." Vida drew herself up to her full height, her royal training evident in every line of her body. "Lord Zarax, I wasn't aware you'd be representing our people at this conference." Zarax's smile didn't waver. "Oh, I wouldn't miss this for anything. After all, the future of our empire hangs in the balance." As Zarax moved on, flanked by his entourage, Vida turned to Eugene, her expression tight with worry. "This complicates things," she said. "Zarax will challenge my claim to the throne at every turn." Eugene took her hand, feeling the gentle pulse of their bond. "We'll face this together," he assured her. "Tomorrow we'll show them all what we're capable of." The following morning, Eugene and Vida entered the Grand Assembly Hall, their hearts pounding with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The chamber was a marvel of alien architecture, its high, vaulted ceiling disappearing into a simulated sky filled with stars from 1,000 worlds. Delegates from hundreds of species filled the tiered seating, creating a living tapestry of diversity. Eugene spotted Dr. Reeves with the Earth contingent, her encouraging nod a small comfort. On the opposite side of the hall, Lord Zarax sat with the Catarian delegation, his predatory gaze never leaving Vida. As they took their seats, Eugene reached out with his mind, brushing against Vida's consciousness. The familiar warmth of their connection steadied him, reminding him of all they had achieved together. Zephyr's holographic form shimmered into existence at the center of the hall. The AI's voice rang out, welcoming the delegates and emphasizing the importance of the gathering. As various representatives began their presentations, Eugene and Vita waited anxiously for their turn to speak. Suddenly, a piercing alarm shattered the orderly proceedings. Zephyr's form flickered violently, its voice distorting. "Alert! Security breach detected. All systems compromised. Initiating emergency protocols." Chaos erupted in the assembly hall. Delegates leapt from their seats, some crying out in alarm, others reaching for concealed weapons. Through the confusion, Eugene saw several cloaked figures materialize, their forms shimmering as they dropped their camouflage. "Shroud Collective!" Commander Kraz roared, his massive form already moving to intercept the nearest attacker. Eugene's enhanced senses went into overdrive. He could feel the panic radiating from the delegates, the unshakable focus of the security forces, and the cold, alien hostility of the Shroud operatives. Without hesitation, he reached out with his mind, connecting with Kraz and his security team. "I can coordinate your movements," Eugene projected, surprised at how easily the thoughts flowed. "We can outmaneuver them." Vita, meanwhile, had sprung into action. Her fingers danced across a nearby console, her Tarian technology interfacing seamlessly with the Nexus systems. "I'm countering the cyber attack," she called out. "Zephyr, can you hear me?" The AI's voice came through, weak but present. "Affirmative. Firewalls breached. Rerouting core functions." As Eugene guided the security forces with his telepathic link, Vita worked furiously to restore the station's defenses. Their movements were perfectly synchronized, each anticipating the other's needs without a word spoken between them. Across the hall, Eugene spotted Dr. Reeves cornered by a Shroud operative. Without thinking, he projected a warning to a nearby security officer, who swiftly moved to intervene. On the Qatarian side, Lord Zerax found himself similarly threatened, only to be saved by Vita's timely override of a containment field. The battle raged through the Nexus corridors, with Eugene and Vita at its heart. Their enhanced abilities allowed them to turn the tide, slowly pushing back against the Shroud Collective's assault. Delegates from Earth and the Qatarian Empire watched in awe as the human-Tarian pair worked in perfect harmony, their actions speaking louder than any prepared speech could have. As they fought their way towards the central control hub, Eugene and Vita found themselves face-to-face with the Shroud leader. The being was a swirling mass of energy contained within a sleek black exosuit. Its voice, when it spoke, seemed to bypass their ears entirely, resonating directly in their minds. "You cannot stop us," it intoned. "Your union is an abomination, a threat to the natural order." Eugene felt a surge of defiance. "You're wrong," he shot back. "We're the future." The Shroud leader lashed out with tendrils of pure energy. Eugene and Vita moved as one, dodging the attack with preternatural grace. As they circled their opponent, Eugene noticed something strange. Wherever his hand passed near the Shroud leader's energy field, the being's form seemed to waver. "Vita," he called out through their mental link, "my touch disrupts its energy. Can you distract it?" Understanding flowed between them instantly. Vita reached out with her mind, projecting a barrage of psychic noise that caused the Shroud leader to recoil. In that moment of disorientation, Eugene lunged forward, his hand connecting with the exosuit. There was a blinding flash and a scream that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The Shroud leader's form destabilized, its energy dissipating in a shower of sparks. The exosuit clattered to the ground, empty and inert. With their leader defeated, the remaining Shroud operatives began to retreat. Zephyr's voice rang out, strong and clear once more. "Nexus systems restored. Threat neutralized. All delegates, please return to the assembly hall." As calm settled over the station, Eugene and Vita found themselves the center of attention. Delegates from every world stared at them with a mixture of awe, fear, and newfound respect. The couple exchanged a glance, knowing that their actions had just changed the course of galactic history. They made their way back to the assembly hall, where the Earth and Tarian delegations waited. Dr. Reeves beamed at Eugene, while Lord Zerax regarded Vita with a grudging nod of acknowledgement. The other delegates parted before them, creating a path to the central podium. As they took their place at the heart of the galactic community, Eugene and Vita knew that the real challenge was just beginning. They would have to navigate the complex web of interspecies politics, convince their own people of the value of their bond, and chart a course for a future where humans and Tarians could coexist in harmony. Eugene squeezed Vita's hand, feeling the strength of their connection. Whatever came next, they would face it together. As the assembled delegates waited expectantly, Eugene took a deep breath and began to speak. Speak. The assembly hall fell silent, all eyes fixed on the human-Tarian pair who had just saved them from disaster. Esteemed delegates, Eugene began, his voice steady despite the adrenaline still coursing through his veins. What you've just witnessed is merely a glimpse of what humanity and the Tarian Empire can achieve together. As Eugene spoke, he noticed Dr. Amanda Reeves and Lord Zex exchange wary glances from opposite sides of the hall. He pressed on, determined to make their case. The bond between Vita and myself is unique, born of an accident that merged Catarian technology with human biology. This symbiosis has enhanced our natural abilities, allowing us to combine human ingenuity with Catarian technological prowess. Vita stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. Our journey began on Earth and brought us here through an accidental wormhole. Since then, we've undergone significant physiological changes. She paused, allowing her next words to carry their full weight. My body now processes human nutrients with unprecedented efficiency, reducing my dependence on Eugene's essence. This development could potentially address our species' long-standing biological limitations. A murmur rippled through the Catarian delegation. Lord Zex leaned forward, his eyes narrowing with interest. Eugene was about to continue when the lights in the assembly hall flickered ominously. Zephyr's holographic form wavered, its edges blurring and distorting. Another attack, Vita hissed, her enhanced senses already probing the station's systems. Commander Kraz sprang into action, barking orders to his security team. Protect the delegates, secure all exits. But Eugene and Vita knew they were uniquely equipped to handle this threat. They clasped hands, their minds synchronizing as they interfaced directly with the Nexus's systems. The physical world faded away as they plunged into a virtual landscape of data streams and pulsing energy nodes. The Shroud Collective's virus writhed through the system like a malevolent serpent, seeking to seize control of the station's vital functions. They're trying to strand the delegates, Eugene realized, his thoughts flowing seamlessly to Vita. Or worse, she responded, her virtual form shimmering with dedication. Together, they wove through the complex data structures, identifying and neutralizing viral threats. Eugene's software engineering expertise, amplified by their bond, allowed him to create sophisticated countermeasures on the fly. Vita's innate understanding of advanced technology guided their path through the Nexus's deepest systems. In the physical world, Dr. Reeves found herself shoulder to shoulder with Lord Zex, both working to maintain order in the panicking crowd. We need to trust them, Reeves shouted over the din, gesturing to Eugene and Vita's glowing forms. Zex nodded grimly. For now, human, we have little choice. As Eugene and Vita delved deeper into the Nexus's core systems, they uncovered the true nature of the attack. Hidden within the station's ancient framework was technology of immense power, capable of destabilizing the entire galaxy if misused. We can't let them access this, Vita's thoughts rang out with urgency. Eugene's response came not in words, but in a surge of energy as he pushed their bond to its limits. Vita matched his intensity, their consciousness merging more completely than ever before. In the assembly hall, the delegates watched in awe as Eugene and Vita's physical forms began to blur, surrounded by a pulsating aura of energy. Their separate silhouettes merged into a single, shimmering entity that defied easy categorization. Within the virtual realm, the merged Eugene-Vita consciousness faced off against the Shroud Collective's virus in the Nexus's core. They wove intricate data patterns, combining Eugene's coding skills with Vita's technological intuition. The virus lashed out, its tendrils threatening to overwhelm them. But the human-Catarian hybrid responded with a burst of raw power, their merged consciousness reaching new heights of synchronization. In a blinding flash of virtual light, the virus disintegrated. The Shroud Collective's presence vanished from the system, leaving behind only echoes of corrupted data. As Zephyr regained full control of the Nexus, Eugene and Vita's consciousness began to separate. They found themselves back in the assembly hall, swaying slightly as their awareness returned to their individual bodies. A moment of stunned silence was broken by thunderous applause. Delegates from every corner of the galaxy rose to their feet, their earlier fears transformed into excitement and curiosity. Dr. Reeves rushed to Eugene's side, her face a mix of concern and wonder. "Are you all right? What happened in there?" Before Eugene could respond, Lord Zerax approached, his calculating gaze fixed on Vita. "Most impressive, Princess. It seems your partnership has yielded unexpected benefits." As the applause died down, Eugene and Vita exchanged a weary but triumphant glance. They had defended the Nexus and demonstrated the power of their bond, but they both knew that their greatest challenges still lay ahead. The assembly hall buzzed with excited chatter as delegates debated the implications of what they had just witnessed. Eugene took a deep breath, preparing to address the crowd once more, and begin the delicate task of explaining their unprecedented symbiosis to a galaxy that was only beginning to understand its potential. Potential of their unique bond. As Eugene finished his address, the assembly hall erupted into a cacophony of voices. Delegates from various worlds clamored to ask questions, their curiosity piqued by the unprecedented display of human-Catarian cooperation. Dr. Amanda Reeves pushed through the crowd, her face etched with concern. "Eugene, we need to run some tests," she said, her voice low and urgent. "These changes to your physiology, we need to understand what's happening." Eugene nodded, recognizing the importance of her request. "Of course, Dr. Reeves. I'm as curious as you are." As they made their way to the medical bay, Lord Zerax's eyes followed them, his expression unreadable. He tapped a discreet communication device on his wrist, murmuring instructions to an unseen correspondent. In the sterile confines of the medical bay, Eugene lay still as Dr. Reeves and her team conducted a battery of tests. Holographic displays flickered with streams of data, mapping out his altered genetic structure. "This is remarkable," Dr. Reeves muttered, her eyes wide as she studied the results. "Your DNA has incorporated significant Catarian genetic markers. It's granting you enhanced strength, improved cognitive abilities, and, Eugene, you're showing heightened sensitivity to alien technology." Eugene flexed his hand, noting the subtle iridescence that now shimmered across his skin. "It feels natural," he said, "like I've unlocked a part of myself that was always there." Meanwhile, Vita found herself cornered by Lord Zerax in a secluded corridor. The Catarian noble's voice was silky smooth, but his words carried a sharp edge. "Princess, your actions today were most impressive," he said. "But I wonder, have you considered the implications for our people? This mingling with humans. It's unprecedented." Vita stood her ground, her chin raised defiantly. "It's the future, Lord Zerax, a future of cooperation and mutual benefit." Zerax's eyes narrowed. "Indeed, we shall see how our people view this cooperation." As tensions simmered beneath the surface, Zephyr's holographic form materialized before Eugene and Vita. "I have a proposal," the AI announced. "A goodwill tour of key worlds in the galactic community, including Earth and the Catarian Empire. It would allow you to demonstrate the benefits of your symbiosis firsthand." Eugene and Vita exchanged glances, their thoughts aligning without a word spoken. "We'll do it," Eugene said. "It's time to show the galaxy what we can achieve together." The preparations for the tour consumed the next few days. Eugene and Vita worked tirelessly with Ambassador Zyla, crafting presentations that would showcase their unique abilities. In between planning sessions, they spent time in the harmonic chamber, further stabilizing their symbiotic connection. As they emerged from their final session, both gasped at the changes they saw in each other. Eugene's skin now bore a subtle scale-like pattern, while Vita's body radiated warmth at a temperature perfectly matched to human norms. "It's beautiful," Vita whispered, tracing the iridescent patterns on Eugene's arm. Their moment of intimacy was interrupted by an urgent message from Dr. Reeves. "We've got trouble," her holographic form announced. "Colonel Hargrove's separatist movement is launching cyber attacks against Earth's government installations. They're trying to disrupt your arrival." Eugene's fist tight. We need to move fast. Can you develop countermeasures? Dr. Reeves nodded grimly. I'm working with a joint human-Catarian team. We'll do our best to stay ahead of them. As news of the upcoming tour spread, so did the unrest. Reports flooded in from the Catarian homeworld of protests in major cities. Demonstrators demanded Vita's return to face trial for species betrayal, their anger fueled by a shadowy propaganda campaign. Recognizing the volatile situation, Commander Kraz stepped forward. I'll accompany you on this tour, he declared, his reptilian features set in grit. We'll begin combat training immediately. You need to be prepared for any threat. The night before their departure, Eugene and Vita sought a moment of peace in the Nexus's botanical gardens. The air was heavy with the scent of alien flora, a reminder of the diverse worlds they would soon visit. A rustling in the foliage caught their attention. A figure emerged from the shadows, its form shimmering with an otherworldly energy. I am Xylos, it introduced itself, its voice resonating in their minds. A member of the precursors. Your symbiosis is no accident, but the culmination of eons of careful genetic manipulation. Eugene and Vita listened in stunned silence as Xylos revealed the true nature of their bond and warned of the dangers that lay ahead. Seek out our hidden artifacts, Xylos urged. They will unlock your full potential and provide the protection you'll need. Before they could process this revelation, alarms blared throughout the Nexus. Zephyr's voice rang out, urgent and clear. Unknown fleet approaching. Threat level critical. Eugene and Vita raced to their ship, a sleek vessel that melded Catarian and human technology. As they prepared for launch, they exchanged a look of fierce commitment. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. The ship's engines roared to life, propelling them away from the Nexus and into the vast unknown of space. As the stars streaked past, Eugene and Vita knew that their journey was just beginning, and that the fate of two worlds now rested in their hands. The fate of two worlds now rested in their grasp, but neither could have predicted the true scale of the challenge that lay ahead. As their ship streaked away from the Nexus, alarms blared through the cockpit. Zephyr's holographic form flickered into existence, her expression grave. Eugene, Vita, we have a situation, the AI announced. The unknown fleet has altered course. They're pursuing you. Eugene's hands flew over the controls, bringing up a tactical display. A swarm of red dots converged on their position. Any idea who they are? Zephyr's form shimmered as she processed data. Energy signatures match known profiles of the Voidwalkers, a highly advanced civilization with suspected ties to the precursors. Vita leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. The Voidwalkers, but they've been isolated for millennia. Why come out now? It appears your unique symbiosis has attracted their attention, Zephyr replied. Eugene and Vita exchanged a look. Their planned goodwill tour would have to wait. We need to find those precursor artifacts, Eugene said, his voice firm. Xylos said they'd unlock our full potential. If the Voidwalkers are after us, we'll need every advantage we can get. Vita nodded, her mind already interfacing with the ship's navigation systems. The nearest known precursor ruin is on Eridos 4, setting course now. As they sped towards their new destination, Eugene and Vita felt their bond intensify. Eugene watched in fascination as the iridescent sheen on his skin spread, covering his entire body in a subtle scale-like pattern. Vita gasped as she felt her internal chemistry shift, allowing her to process the human food rations with ease. Their shared senses grew sharper, more intertwined. As they piloted the ship through a dangerous asteroid field, their movements became a perfectly choreographed dance. Eugene's enhanced cognitive abilities allowed him to calculate trajectories with lightning speed, while Vita's innate connection to the ship's Catarian technology pushed its engines beyond their normal limits. Days later, they emerged from hyperspace above Eridos 4. The planet loomed before them, a vibrant sphere of emerald and sapphire. As they descended through the atmosphere, Eugene and Vita spotted a massive structure hidden beneath the dense jungle canopy. That has to be it, Eugene said, guiding their ship towards a small clearing. As they touched down, movement in the underbrush caught their attention. Vita tensed, ready for a fight, but Eugene laid a hand on her arm. Wait, he said, his enhanced senses picking up a familiar scent. A figure emerged from the foliage, hands raised in a gesture of peace. Eugene and Vita stared in shock at the disheveled form of Dr. Yuki Tanaka. "Dr. Tanaka?" Eugene said, disbelief evident in his voice. "What are you doing here?" The xenobiologist stepped forward, her eyes darting nervously between them. I came to help, to make amends for what I did on Earth." Vita's eyes narrowed. "Why should we trust you? You sabotaged our mission." Dr. Tanaka's shoulders slumped. "I was coerced by Hargrove's separatists, but I've defected. Please, let me assist you. My expertise could be valuable in understanding this precursor site." Eugene and Vita communicated silently through their bond, weighing the risks and potential benefits. Finally, Eugene nodded. "All right, Dr. Tanaka, but we'll be watching you closely." The trio approached the ancient temple, its weathered stone surface covered in intricate glyphs. As they stepped inside, the air grew thick with an otherworldly energy. Their progress was soon halted by a massive stone door. Alien symbols pulsed with an eerie light, forming a complex puzzle. Eugene's enhanced mind raced, deciphering patterns and connections at an astounding speed. "It's a test," he muttered, his fingers tracing the glyphs, "designed to challenge our symbiotic abilities." As Eugene worked on the mental challenge, a section of the floor gave way, revealing a chasm too wide to jump. Vita stepped forward, her Terrian strength allowing her to bend the metal support beams into a makeshift bridge. Dr. Tanaka proved her worth as they encountered bizarre bioluminescent flora that reacted violently to their presence. Her xenobiological expertise allowed them to navigate safely past the dangerous organisms. Deeper in the temple, they activated an ancient holographic interface. A shimmering map materialized before them, highlighting a distant star system. "The Nexus key," Vita breathed, recognizing the significance of the artifact from her people's legends. "With it, we could unlock our full potential." Before they could celebrate their discovery, the temple shook violently. The sound of explosions echoed through the ancient halls. "We've got company," Eugene said grimly, his enhanced hearing picking up the sound of approaching forces. Multiple groups, one Qatarian, one human. "Zerax," Vita hissed. "And Hargrove," Eugene added. Dr. Tanaka paled. "They must have followed us." As the temple began to crumble around them, Eugene, Vita, and Dr. Tanaka fought their way back towards the entrance. Eugene's newfound strength allowed him to clear fallen debris, while Vita's telepathic abilities warned them of incoming attacks. Caught between Zerax's Terrian loyalists and Hargrove's human separatists, their situation grew desperate. In a moment of extreme danger, Eugene and Vita's consciousnesses merged completely. A wave of psychic energy exploded outward, incapacitating both attacking forces. As their minds separated, Eugene and Vita stared at each other in awe, realizing the true potential of their bond. They raced back to their ship, Dr. Tanaka in tow, as Voidwalker vessels appeared in the skies above. As they blasted off from Eridos 4, Eugene and Vita knew their actions had escalated the conflict to a galactic scale. Setting course for the coordinates of the Nexus key, they prepared for their most dangerous mission yet. As Voidwalker ships gathered in the distance, Eugene and Vita clasped hands, their touch generating visible energy fields that interfaced with the ship's systems. Dr. Tanaka watched in fascination, her scientific curiosity piqued by the evolving nature of their symbiosis. As they approached the Voidwalker outpost where the Nexus key was hidden, Eugene and Vita steeled themselves for the challenges ahead. The fate of multiple species now hung in the balance. With enemies on all sides and time running out, they knew that failure was not an option. The mission to retrieve the Nexus key would determine the course of galactic history and the future of their unprecedented bond. The Nexus key pulsed with an otherworldly energy between Eugene and Vita as their ship hurtled through space. Dr. Tanaka hunched over her makeshift lab station, her eyes wide with excitement as she analyzed the artifact. "The energy readings are off the charts," she murmured, adjusting her instruments. "This key contains more data than I've ever seen in a single object." Eugene leaned forward, his iridescent skin shimmering in the low light of the cockpit. "Can you decrypt any of it?" Dr. Tanaka shook her head. "It's beyond our current technology, but I believe your symbiosis might be the key to unlocking its secrets. Vida's eyes narrowed as she interfaced with the ship's navigation systems. We'll need time to study it properly. There's a debris field ahead that should provide some cover. As they maneuvered into the field of asteroids and derelict ships, alarms blared throughout the cockpit. Zephyr's holographic form flickered to life, her expression grave. Multiple contacts detected, the AI announced. Voidwalker signatures approaching from Sector 7. Earth and Catarian fleets converging from Sectors 3 and 5. Eugene's enhanced senses picked up the faint energy signatures of the approaching ships. He shared the information with Vida through their bond, their minds working in tandem to formulate a plan. We need to reach the Voidwalker outpost, Vida said, her fingers dancing over the controls. It's our best chance of understanding the key and finding allies. Eugene nodded, interfacing with the ship's weapon systems. Agreed, but we'll need to use every trick we've got to get there in one piece. As they approached the massive space station orbiting a dying star, the couple's symbiotic energy surged. The ship's systems responded, its cloaking technology adapting and evolving beyond its original capabilities. Dr. Tanaka watched in fascination as tendrils of bioelectric energy snaked from Eugene and Vida's bodies, merging with the ship's controls. Incredible, she breathed. Your bond is actually enhancing the ship's stealth systems. The Voidwalker outpost loomed before them, a behemoth of alien architecture overflowing with defenses. Eugene's newly developed Catarian-like senses probed the structure, identifying weak points and rarely used access ports. There, he said, pointing to a dimly lit section of the station's outer hull. A maintenance airlock. It's our best shot at getting inside undetected. Vida nodded, already adjusting their course. Dr. Tanaka, we need you to stay with the ship. Keep it cloaked and be ready for a quick extraction. The xenobiologist swallowed hard but nodded her agreement. Be careful in there. We still don't know the full extent of the Voidwalker's capabilities. Eugene and Vida retreated to a small chamber near the airlock, their hands intertwined. As one, they focused their minds, drawing upon the energy of their bond. Their bodies began to glow, bioelectric currents flowing between them in a mesmerizing display. Their lips met in a passionate kiss, and the energy surrounding them intensified. The ship's systems surged, its stealth capabilities reaching new heights as it absorbed the excess power generated by their union. Breathless, they parted. Eugene cupped Vida's face in his hands, their eyes locked in silent communication. No words were needed. Their bond conveyed everything they felt. Donning their modified spacesuits, Eugene and Vida stepped into the airlock. As the outer doors opened, they launched themselves into the void, their enhanced physiology allowing them to navigate the hostile environment with ease. They weaved through the debris field surrounding the station, their movements perfectly synchronized. Eugene's enhanced cognitive abilities calculated trajectories and safe paths, while Vida's innate connection to technology allowed her to interface with and temporarily disable proximity sensors. Reaching the maintenance airlock, Eugene placed his hand on the access panel. His mind raced, decrypting the complex security protocols in a matter of seconds. The airlock cycled open, admitting them into the heart of the Voidwalker outpost. Inside, they faced a labyrinth of corridors patrolled by shimmering, translucent guards. Eugene and Vida moved as one, their symbiotic senses allowing them to predict and avoid detection with uncanny accuracy. As they rounded a corner, they came face to face with a lone Voidwalker. Unlike the guards, this being's form seemed more solid, its eyes alight with intelligence and curiosity. "I am Zara," the Voidwalker said, its voice resonating in their minds. "I've been expecting you." Eugene and Vida tensed, ready for a fight, but Zara raised its hands in a gesture of peace. "I mean you no harm," Zara continued. "I've been studying human Catarian symbiosis in secret. Your arrival presents an opportunity I cannot ignore." Vida's eyes narrowed. "Why should we trust you?" Zara's form shimmered with what might have been nervousness. "Because I believe your symbiosis holds the key to saving my people. The Voidwalkers are dying, our energy waning. Your combined DNA could be our salvation." Eugene and Vida exchanged glances, their bond thrumming with shared thoughts and emotions. After a moment, Eugene nodded. We'll hear you out, but we need your help in return. We're looking for the Nexus key. Zara's form brightened. I know where it's kept. Follow me, quickly. We don't have much time. As they moved deeper into the station, alarms began to blare. Eugene's enhanced hearing picked up the sound of approaching ships. We've got company, he said grimly. Multiple vessels, not just voidwalkers. Vita's face hardened. Zarax and Hargrove. They've found us. Zara led them to a heavily fortified chamber, its walls pulsing with strange energies. In the center, hovering above a pedestal, was a crystalline sphere, the Nexus key. As Eugene and Vita approached, the key reacted to their presence. It emitted a blinding flash, incapacitating the Voidwalker guards. Eugene reached out, his fingers closing around the artifact. The moment he touched it, power surged through him and Vita. Their bodies began to merge, becoming a swirling vortex of energy and matter. In this new combined form, they easily overcame the remaining resistance, making their way back toward the airlock. But as they neared their exit, they saw two figures materializing in the corridor ahead, Lord Zarax and Colonel Hargrove, their uneasy alliance evident in their coordinated movements. The station shuddered under the impact of weapons fire. Their enemies had begun their assault, and Eugene and Vita found themselves caught in the middle, their merged form beginning to destabilize as the Nexus key pulsed with untapped power between them. The merged form of Eugene and Vita struggled to maintain cohesion as the Nexus key's power coursed through their being. With a supreme effort of will, they forced their consciousness to separate, materializing as two distinct entities once more. We need to move, Eugene gasped, his skin still shimmering with residual energy. Vita nodded, her eyes scanning the corridor. This way, she said, gesturing toward an emergency hatch. As they sprinted down the hallway, the station shuddered under another barrage of weapons fire. Alarms blared, and the acrid smell of smoke filled the air. They reached the hatch, and Eugene wrenched it open with his enhanced strength. After you, he said, helping Vita through before following close behind. They emerged onto an outer maintenance walkway, the vast expanse of space stretching out before them. Their ship was visible in the distance, still cloaked but detectable to their heightened senses. Eugene tapped his communicator. Dr. Tanaka, prepare for immediate extraction. Already on it, came the scientist's terse reply, but we've got company, multiple vessels converging on our position. As if on cue, a swarm of smaller craft detached from the larger ships, racing toward the station. Eugene and Vita exchanged a determined look, then launched themselves into space, their modified suits allowing them to navigate the void with ease. They weaved through a hail of energy bolts, their movements perfectly synchronized. Eugene's enhanced mind calculated trajectories and safe paths, while Vita's connection to technology allowed her to briefly disrupt the targeting systems of their pursuers. As they neared their ship, a familiar vessel suddenly decloaked beside them. The sleek lines and pulsing energy signature were unmistakable. It was Ambassador Zyla's ship. Get aboard, quickly! Zyla's voice resonated in their minds. I can provide cover fire. Without hesitation, Eugene and Vita altered their course, propelling themselves toward the open airlock of Zyla's ship. As soon as they were inside, the vessel accelerated away from the station, its advanced shielding deflecting enemy fire. Your ship is following on autopilot, Zyla informed them as they made their way to the bridge. We're headed for a safe haven where you can regroup and study the Nexus key. Eugene and Vita shared a look of cautious hope. Where exactly are we going? Vita asked. Zyla's crystalline form shimmered as she interfaced with the ship's navigation system. To a place called Haven, a hidden station where beings from various species work together in peace. It's our best chance to unlock the secrets of the Nexus key and find a way to end this conflict. As they sped away from the battle, leaving the Voidwalker outpost behind, Eugene felt the Nexus key pulse with energy in his grasp. He knew that their journey was just the beginning, but for the first time since this adventure began, he felt a glimmer of true hope. The ship emerged from FTL travel near a massive nebula, its swirling gases concealing what lay within. As they penetrated the cosmic veil, a massive space station came into view. Its design was unlike anything Eugene or Vita had ever seen, blending elements of human, Qatarian, and other alien architectures. "Welcome to Haven," Zyla announced as they approached a docking bay. As the airlock cycled open, they were greeted by a diverse group of beings, humans, Qatarians, and several species Eugene and Vita had never encountered before. At the forefront stood a tall, elegant figure with iridescent skin and eyes that seemed to contain galaxies. "I am Ambassador Zyla," the being said, her voice resonating with a musical quality. "We've been expecting you." Eugene and Vita exchanged surprised glances. "You know who we are?" Vita asked. Zyla nodded. "We've been monitoring the situation closely. Your unique bond and the Nexus key you carry could be the key to preventing an interstellar war." As they followed Zyla through Haven's corridors, Eugene and Vita marveled at the harmony they witnessed. Beings of all species worked side by side, their differences seemingly forgotten in pursuit of a common goal. "Our top priority is studying the Nexus key," Zyla explained as they entered a state-of-the-art laboratory. "Dr. Tanaka, your expertise will be invaluable in this endeavor." The xenobiologist's eyes widened as she took in the advanced equipment. "This is incredible," she breathed. "With these resources, we might be able to unlock the key's secrets." While Dr. Tanaka began her analysis, Eugene and Vita were led to Haven's medical bay for thorough examinations. The results were astounding. Their DNA had become a perfect blend of human and Qatarian, granting them abilities beyond what either species could achieve alone. As they processed this information, Eugene and Vita retreated to their assigned quarters. The moment the door closed behind them, they fell into each other's arms, their lips meeting in a passionate kiss. The bioelectric energy of their bond surged, interfacing with Haven's systems and causing a momentary power fluctuation throughout the station. Their intimate moment was interrupted by an urgent comm alert. "Eugene, Vita," Dr. Tanaka's voice came through, excitement evident in her tone. "I've made a breakthrough. You need to see this immediately." They hurried back to the lab where Dr. Tanaka's holographic displays showed complex data streams and alien symbols. "The Nexus key," she explained, "contains the combined knowledge and technological advancements of countless civilizations, but accessing it requires a stable, evolved symbiotic bond, like yours." Before they could fully process this revelation, alarms blared throughout the station. Haven's long-range sensors had detected the approach of multiple fleets, the Voidwalkers, led by their supreme commander, and a joint Earth-Qatarian task force. As Eugene and Vita raced to Haven's command center, they knew they faced a moment of truth. With the Nexus key in their possession and their unique bond as the key to unlocking its power, they held the fate of multiple civilizations in their hands. The time had come to put their abilities to the ultimate test and find a way to broker peace between the warring factions. Factions in their hands. The time had come to put their abilities to the ultimate test and find a way to broker peace between the warring sides. As Eugene and Vita entered Haven's command center, a sudden surge of energy coursed through their bodies. The Nexus key, still clutched in Eugene's hand, pulsed with an otherworldly glow. In an instant, their forms began to merge, surrounded by a swirling vortex of light and power. The assembled staff of Haven watched in awe as the human and Qatarian became one, their features blending into a mesmerizing new entity. The being that stood before them radiated an aura of energy, their appearance a perfect synthesis of both species. Ambassador Zyla's eyes widened, her crystalline form shimmering with excitement. "Incredible," she breathed. "The symbiosis is complete." The newly merged Eugene Vita entity strode purposefully towards the main view screen, where the approaching fleets were displayed in ominous detail. Without a word, they raised their hands, streams of data and light flowing from their fingertips into Haven's systems. Suddenly, a galaxy-wide broadcast initiated, projecting a three-dimensional holographic image of the merged entity into the command centers of every ship in both the Voidwalker fleet and the Earth-Qatarian task force. The display of technological prowess immediately captured the attention of all factions. "Leaders of Earth, the Qatarian Empire, and the Voidwalkers," the entity spoke, their voice a harmonious blend of Eugene and Vita's. "We come before you with a truth that will reshape our understanding of the universe." The entity began to reveal the true nature of the precursors and their connection to both humans and Terrians. As they spoke, the knowledge contained within the Nexus key flowed through them, allowing them to present complex information with clarity and conviction. Humanity and the Terrians were part of a grand experiment in symbiotic evolution, they explained. We were designed to create a new form of life capable of bridging the gap between civilizations. Gasps and murmurs of shock rippled through the assembled forces. On the Voidwalker command ship, Supreme Commander Zal Thrak leaned forward, his ethereal form pulsing with interest. The Eugene Vita entity continued, their words accompanied by vivid holographic representations of ancient history and complex genetic structures. As they spoke, they used their enhanced abilities to interface with the ship's systems, demonstrating their control over the advanced technology. With a mere thought, weapons systems across all fleets were disabled, effectively neutralizing the immediate threat of conflict. This display of power forced all parties to listen to their proposal for peace. We understand the Voidwalkers' desperation, the entity said, turning their attention to Zal Thrak. Your pursuit of the Nexus key was driven by a need to save your dying race. We offer you hope. The entity's words caused a shift in perspective among the Earth and Tarian forces. Colonel Hargrove, watching from the bridge of his flagship, felt his hardened tenacity begin to waver. Drawing on their combined diplomatic skills, the Eugene Vita entity proposed a bold plan for cooperation. We offer to share the knowledge and technology contained within the Nexus key to help the Voidwalkers stabilize their civilization, they announced. In exchange, we ask for your assistance in facilitating peaceful relations between Earth and the Qatarian Empire. To demonstrate the potential benefits of this cooperation, the entity channeled their power to temporarily link the minds of key leaders from each faction. Colonel Hargrove, Lord Zarax, and Supreme Commander Zal Thrak found themselves experiencing a brief but profound moment of shared consciousness. In that instant, Hargrove felt the weight of millennia pressing down on him, understanding the Voidwalkers' ancient struggle for survival. Zarax experienced the burning curiosity and ambition that drove humanity to the stars. Zal Thrak, in turn, felt the fierce pride and sense of honor that defined the Qatarian people. As the leaders recovered from this experience, the Eugene Vita entity began to show signs of instability. Arcs of energy crackled across their form, and their voice became strained. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, they quickly outlined a framework for a galactic alliance. We propose the creation of a new space station, they said, projecting a holographic blueprint of an awe-inspiring structure. A neutral ground for diplomatic negotiations, scientific collaboration, and cultural exchange between all our species. The various factions began to cautiously agree to these proposals. Ambassador Zyla stepped forward, her diplomatic expertise coming to the fore as she helped formalize the agreement between Earth, the Qatarian Empire, and the Voidwalkers. As the leaders of each faction signaled their acceptance, a wave of relief washed over the assembled fleets. The immediate crisis had been averted, but the Eugene Vita entity's form was becoming increasingly unstable. Energy arced from their body, interfacing with Haven's systems and causing fluctuations in the station's power grid. Dr. Tanaka's voice came urgently over the comm system. The merged form is breaking down. We need to separate them immediately. With a final surge of power, the Eugene Vita entity's form began to separate. The process was violent, with bursts of energy shooting out in all directions. Haven's emergency systems activated, containing the energy discharge and preventing damage to the station. As the separation neared completion, the Nexus key, which had been absorbed into their merge form, reappeared as a physical object. It hovered in the air, pulsing with barely suppressed power. With a final, blinding flash of light, Eugene and Vita collapsed onto the command deck, once again in their individual forms but unconscious. Medical teams rushed to their aid as the leaders of the newly formed alliance gathered around. Ambassador Zyla knelt beside the unconscious couple, her eyes filled with concern. Their sacrifice has given us a chance for peace, she said softly, but the real work begins now. As the medical team carefully moved Eugene and Vita to the infirmary, the Nexus key remained suspended in the air, its glow a reminder of the vast knowledge and power it contained. The assembled leaders looked at each other, the weight of their new alliance heavy on their shoulders. The fate of their historic agreement now rested on the recovery of the humanitarian couple. As Haven's staff bustled with activity, preparing for the challenges ahead, one question remained unspoken. Would Eugene and Vita be able to access the power of their symbiosis again? The answer to that question would determine the future of this fragile piece and the fate of multiple civilizations. The blinding flash of light subsided, revealing Eugene and Vita's unconscious forms on Haven's command deck. Medical teams rushed forward, carefully lifting the couple onto hovering gurneys. As they were whisked away to the infirmary, the assembled leaders exchanged worried glances, the weight of their newfound alliance hanging heavy in the air. Hours passed in tense silence as Haven's medical staff worked tirelessly to stabilize the human-Katarian couple. Dr. Tanaka, her face etched with concern, monitored an array of holographic displays showing Eugene and Vita's vital signs. The data streams flickered and pulsed, revealing unprecedented changes in their physiology. "Fascinating," Dr. Tanaka murmured, her eyes widening as she observed the couple's skin taking on a subtle, iridescent sheen. The opalescent hue shifted between human and Katarian tones, a visual manifestation of their deepening symbiosis. A soft groan from one of the medical beds drew Dr. Tanaka's attention. Eugene's eyes fluttered open, followed moments later by Vita's. The couple instinctively reached for each other, their fingers intertwining as they took in their surroundings. "What happened?" Eugene asked, his voice hoarse. Dr. Tanaka approached, her professional demeanor tinged with awe. "You merged completely," she explained, gesturing to the holographic displays. "Your DNA has undergone further changes. It seems your symbiosis is evolving at an accelerated rate." Vita sat up slowly, her eyes widening as she caught sight of her reflection in a nearby monitor. "Our skin," she breathed, running a hand along her arm. "It's different." Before Dr. Tanaka could respond, Ambassador Zyla entered the infirmary, her crystalline form shimmering with an air of urgency. "I apologize for the intrusion," she said, her melodic voice tinged with concern, "but we need your help." Eugene and Vita listened intently as Zyla briefed them on the fragile peace negotiated during their merged state. The newly formed alliance between Earth, the Katarian Empire, and the Voidwalkers teetered on the brink of collapse as delegations from each faction arrived on Haven. "Your unique perspective as a human-Katarian hybrid could bridge the gap between our species," Zyla explained. "Will you join us at the negotiations?" Eugene and Vita exchanged a look, their unspoken communication a testament to their deepening bond. Despite their weakened state, they nodded in agreement. As they prepared to leave the infirmary, Eugene pulled Vita close, their lips meeting in a tender kiss. Suddenly, the nearby medical equipment sparked and sputtered, screens flickering with static. The couple jumped apart, startled by the unexpected reaction. Dr. Tanaka's eyes widened as she observed the phenomenon. "Incredible," she muttered, furiously tapping notes into her datapad. "Your intimate encounters seem to generate an energy field that interacts with nearby technology. This could have significant implications." Pushing aside their concerns about this new development, Eugene and Vita followed Ambassador Zyla to Haven's main conference chamber. The room buzzed with tension as representatives from Earth, the Katarian Empire, and the Voidwalkers engaged in heated debates. At the center of the room, suspended in a containment field, floated the Nexus key. Its pulsing energy cast an eerie glow across the faces of the assembled delegates, a constant reminder of the power at stake. As Eugene and Vita entered, the room fell silent. All eyes turned to the couple, their shimmering skin a stark visual reminder of the potential for unity between species. Ambassador Zyla guided them to a pair of empty seats at the head of the table. "Honored delegates," Zyla announced, her voice carrying across the chamber. "I present Eugene Tanaka of Earth and Vita, former heir to the Katarian throne. Their unique bond and insights may hold the key to our lasting peace." Eugene cleared his throat, feeling the weight of expectation upon him. "We've seen firsthand the potential of cooperation between our species," he began, his voice gaining strength as he spoke. "The knowledge contained within the Nexus key could benefit all of us equally." Vita nodded in agreement, her eyes scanning the room. "We propose a solution to share the key's power among all parties," she added, her tone firm and resolute. Murmurs of interest and skepticism rippled through the gathered delegates. Colonel Hargrove, representing Earth's interests, leaned forward with a scowl. "And how exactly do you propose to do that?" he challenged. Eugene and Vita exchanged a knowing glance. Without a word, they joined hands, their skins shimmering more intensely at the contact. A surge of energy coursed through their bodies as they initiated a controlled merge. The assembled delegates gasped as Eugene and Vita's forms blurred, their energies intertwining. The Nexus key pulsed in response, its containment field flickering as it resonated with the couple's power. A brilliant holographic projection materialized above the conference table, depicting a sprawling cityscape unlike anything the delegates had ever seen. Soaring towers of Terrian crystal intertwined with earthen architecture, while ethereal voidwalker structures pulsed with otherworldly energy. The virtual city showcased technologies that seamlessly blended the strengths of all three species. "This," the merged Eugene Vita entity spoke, their voice echoing with newfound authority, "is a vision of our shared future, a galactic capital where all our species can thrive together." The holographic display captivated the delegates, momentarily silencing their arguments. Even Colonel Hargrove seemed impressed, his earlier skepticism giving way to grudging interest. As the merged entity prepared to elaborate on their proposal, a sudden commotion erupted outside the conference chamber. The doors burst open, revealing a group of armed individuals, a mix of humans and Qatarians. "Death to the abominations!" one of the attackers shouted, raising a weapon towards Eugene and Vita. In that instant, the fragile peace hanging over Haven shattered, plunging the station into chaos as the extremists launched their assault on the heart of the Alliance. The conference chamber erupted into chaos as the armed extremists burst in, weapons raised. Ambassador Zyla's crystalline form shimmered with alarm as she moved to shield Eugene and Vita. Commander Kraz and his security team sprang into action, engaging the attackers in a fierce firefight. Amidst the chaos, Eugene and Vita's merged form began to destabilize. Their skin flickered between human and Terrian tones as arcs of energy crackled around them. Dr. Tanaka's voice cut through the commotion over the station's comm system. "We need to get Eugene and Vita to the stabilization chamber immediately," she shouted. "Their merger is becoming critical." Colonel Hargrove, momentarily setting aside his skepticism, barked orders to his Earth security detail. "Protect Tanaka and that couple at all costs." As the battle raged around them, Ambassador Zyla and a team of security officers formed a protective circle around Eugene and Vita. They fought their way through the corridors of Haven, the walls vibrating with the energy emanating from the unstable couple. Upon reaching the medical bay, Dr. Tanaka ushered them into a hastily prepared chamber. The walls gleamed with a unique alloy, a fusion of Earth, Qatarian, and Voidwalker technologies. "This chamber should contain their energy output," Dr. Tanaka explained, her fingers dancing across a control panel. "But we need to stabilize them quickly." Eugene and Vita, their forms still partially merged, looked at each other with a mix of fear and willpower. "What do we need to do?" Eugene asked, his voice echoing with an otherworldly resonance. Dr. Tanaka's expression was grim. "We need to complete the merge and stabilize it. It's risky, but it's our only option now." Vita nodded, her iridescent skin pulsing with energy. "We're ready." As Dr. Tanaka initiated the stabilization process, alarms blared throughout Haven. Commander Kraz's voice crackled over the comm system. "Dr. Tanaka, we've neutralized the immediate threat, but we've detected more hostiles approaching the station. We need to evacuate non-essential personnel." The chamber hummed to life, channeling energy from the Nexus key into Eugene and Vita's merging forms. The air crackled with power as their bodies began to fuse more completely. Suddenly, a violent tremor shook the station. Dr. Tanaka's eyes widened in horror as she saw the readings on her monitors. "The chamber's containment field is failing. The saboteurs must have damaged it." Outside the chamber, chaos reigned. Ambassador Ziela coordinated with Commander Kraz to secure the area, while Colonel Hargrove argued fiercely with Qatarian representatives about the risks of continuing the procedure. Inside, Eugene and Vita's combined consciousness fought to maintain cohesion amidst the storm of energy. Their shared memories flashed before them. Their first meeting, their growing love, the moment they chose to embrace their symbiosis. These thoughts anchored them as the power of the Nexus key surged through their being. Dr. Tanaka worked frantically to stabilize the process, her fingers flying over the controls. "The merge is accelerating beyond my calculations," she muttered, sweat beading on her brow. "We need more power to control it." As if in answer to her plea, a group of Voidwalkers led by Supreme Commander Zalthrak entered the medical bay. Their ethereal forms pulsed with otherworldly energy. "We can help," Zalthrak's thought voice reverberated through the minds of those present. "Our abilities may stabilize the energy flow." Without waiting for a response, the Voidwalkers surrounded the chamber. They raised their appendages, generating a shimmering field of energy that enveloped the failing containment system. Dr. Tanaka nodded gratefully and turned back to her controls. "I'm going to increase the energy flow," she announced. "It's our best chance to force the merge to stabilize." As she pushed the levels to their maximum, the chamber filled with blinding light. Eugene and Vita's separate forms became indistinguishable, merging into a single, radiant being. Hours passed in tense silence as the assembled leaders waited. The station's systems fluctuated wildly, struggling to cope with the immense energy output. Finally, the light began to fade. The chamber's door slid open with a hiss of escaping vapor. A figure stepped out, neither fully Eugene nor Vita, but a perfect fusion of both. The being's skin shimmered with an opalescent sheen, its features a harmonious blend of human and Katarian traits. When it spoke, its voice carried the echoes of both Eugene and Vita, yet was something entirely new. "We are Eugita," the entity announced, its eyes scanning the astonished faces before it. "We remember our past selves, but we are now something more." Ambassador Zyla stepped forward, her crystalline form reflecting Eugita's radiance. "Welcome," she said, her voice filled with awe. "How do you feel?" Eugita smiled, a gesture that seemed to light up the room. "We feel complete, and we sense the Nexus key's energy flowing through us, waiting to be shaped." As if to demonstrate, Eugita raised a hand. The nearby computer terminals sprang to life, displaying complex schematics that seamlessly blended technologies from all three species. Colonel Hargrove's jaw dropped. "Incredible," he murmured, his earlier skepticism forgotten. Dr. Tanaka approached Eugita, her scientific curiosity overriding her fatigue. "Your physiology is unlike anything we've ever seen," she said, scanning the being with a handheld device. "The potential applications of this symbiosis are endless." As the initial shock wore off, the assembled leaders began to pepper Eugita with questions. How much of Eugene and Vita remained? What were the extent of their new abilities? What did this mean for the future of human-Katarian relations? Eugita raised a hand, silencing the barrage of inquiries. "We understand your concerns and your curiosity," they said, their voice carrying a new authority. "But now is not the time for lengthy explanations. We sense that Haven is still in danger." Commander Kraz nodded grimly. "The extremist threat hasn't been fully neutralized. We've detected more ships approaching, likely reinforcements." Eugita's eyes narrowed, glowing with an inner light. "Then let us show you what we can do. Together, we can defend Haven and forge a new path forward for all our peoples." As Eugita strode towards the command center, the others followed, a mix of hope and apprehension on their faces. The being's creation had changed everything, and the true test of this new alliance was about to begin. As Eugita strode towards the command center, the others followed, their footsteps echoing through Haven's corridors. The merged being's skin shimmered with an otherworldly glow, casting dancing patterns on the metallic walls. Upon reaching the command center, Eugita approached the main console. Without hesitation, they placed their hands on the interface, closing their eyes in concentration. The screens around them burst to life, displaying a dizzying array of data streams and security protocols. Commander Kraz's eyes widened. "Impossible," he muttered. "It would take our best technicians hours to navigate those systems." Eugita's eyes snapped open, glowing with an inner light. "I have full access to Haven's defenses," they announced. "I can coordinate our response to the incoming threat." As if to demonstrate, Yugita's fingers danced across the console. The station's shield generators hummed to life, creating a shimmering barrier visible through the command center's viewport. Colonel Hargrove stepped forward, his expression a mix of awe and suspicion. How can we trust that you're still you? That this merge hasn't compromised your loyalties? Yugita turned to face the assembled delegates, their voice resonating with newfound authority. I understand your concerns. Allow me to demonstrate. The air shimmered as a holographic projection materialized before them. It displayed classified information known only to the highest-ranking officials of Earth, the Qatarian Empire, and the Voidwalkers. Project Starfall, Yugita said, gesturing to one section of the display. Earth's top-secret planetary defense grid. Colonel Hargrove's jaw dropped. How did you... The Qatarian Empress's hidden vault beneath the crystal spires, Yugita continued, shifting the display, and the true nature of the Voidwalkers' quantum communication network. Supreme Commander Zal Thrak's ethereal form pulsed with surprise. This knowledge was known only to our inner council. Yugita nodded. I retain the memories and core personalities of both Eugene and Vita, but I also possess new knowledge gained from the Nexus key. I am here to help, not to harm. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. Commander Kraz rushed to a nearby terminal. Multiple ships entering the system, he reported. Unknown configuration, but their technology appears to be hybrid? Yugita's eyes narrowed. Put them on screen. The main display flickered to life, showing a fleet of sleek vessels approaching Haven. Their designs incorporated elements of human, Qatarian, and Voidwalker technology, seamlessly blended into something entirely new. A transmission crackled through the command center speakers. Attention, Haven Station. This is the precursor guardian vessel, Cosmic Balance. We demand that you surrender the entity known as Yugita to our custody immediately. The room erupted into chaos as the delegates argued among themselves. Ambassador Zyla raised her crystalline hands, calling for order. Who are these precursor guardians? What right do they have to make such demands? Yugita's expression grew solemn. They are an ancient organization, dedicated to preserving the balance of power in the galaxy. They believe my existence threatens that balance. Colonel Hargrove scoffed. And if we refuse? As if in answer, the lead precursor ship fired a warning shot that shook the station despite its shields. The voice from the Cosmic Balance spoke again, its tone leaving no room for argument. Failure to comply will result in the destruction of Haven and all ships in the vicinity. You have 1 hour to decide. Dr. Tanaka, who had been furiously analyzing data from Yugita's transformation, looked up from her tablet. We need more time. The implications of this merge are beyond anything we've encountered before. Yugita stood silent for a moment, their eyes unfocused as if looking at something beyond the confines of the room. When they spoke, their voice was heavy with commitment. There is another option. I can separate back into Eugene and Vita. Gasps and murmurs filled the room. Ambassador Zyla stepped forward, her crystalline form reflecting Yugita's glow. Is that even possible? Theoretically, yes, Dr. Tanaka interjected, but the process would be incredibly complex and potentially dangerous. Yugita nodded. It's a risk we must take. Prepare the stabilization chamber for reversal. We have less than an hour. As the station buzzed with frantic activity, Dr. Tanaka and her team worked to reconfigure the stabilization chamber. Voidwalker technicians lent their expertise, using their energy manipulation abilities to fine-tune the delicate equipment. With minutes to spare, Yugita stood before the modified chamber. They turned to address the assembled leaders one last time. Whatever happens, remember this moment. We proved that unity between our species is possible. Don't let this setback deter you from that goal. As Yugita stepped into the chamber, energy from the Nexus key began to fluctuate wildly. The station's lights flickered, and consoles sparked with power surges. Dr. Tanaka's fingers flew over the controls, her face etched with concentration. The separation process has begun, she announced, her voice tight with tension, but the energy levels are far more unstable than we anticipated. Through the chamber's viewing port, They could see Yujita's form slowly dividing into two distinct shapes. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the room, and the chamber's power system overloaded in a shower of sparks. "We're losing containment," Dr. Tanaka shouted. "If we don't stabilize the process, they could be trapped in a partially merged state." Commander Kraz sprang into action, leading a team to manually override the chamber's controls. Meanwhile, Supreme Commander Zalthrak and a group of Voidwalkers surrounded the chamber, channeling their energy to stabilize the separation process. The chamber filled with blinding light, forcing everyone to shield their eyes. For several agonizing minutes, the fate of Eugene and Vita hung in the balance. Then slowly, the light began to fade. As the smoke cleared, the chamber's door slid open with a hiss. Two figures emerged, supporting each other as they stepped into the room. Eugene and Vita were once again separate beings, but they were forever changed. Their skin shimmered with a subtle iridescent glow, and their features now displayed a harmonious blend of human and Tarian traits. Eugene's eyes had taken on the multifaceted quality of Tarian vision, while Vita's hair now flowed with a silken texture reminiscent of human locks. As the assembled delegates watched in stunned silence, Eugene and Vita raised their free hands. The nearby computer terminals sprang to life, displaying complex data streams that they seemed to process effortlessly. Dr. Tanaka approached them, her scientific curiosity evident in her gaze. "How do you feel?" she asked, scanning them with a handheld device. Eugene and Vita exchanged a glance, their eyes conveying a depth of understanding that transcended words. When they spoke, their voices carried an echo of the unity they had experienced as Yugita. "We are ourselves," Eugene began. "Yet forever changed," Vita finished. Before anyone could respond, the command center's communication system crackled to life. The voice of the precursor guardian captain filled the room, its tone a mix of curiosity and caution. "Haven Station, we have detected a significant energy fluctuation. Explain yourselves immediately." As Eugene and Vita stepped forward to address this new challenge, the future of interspecies relations hung in the balance. The Nexus key pulsed quietly in its containment field, a reminder of the power that had brought them to this moment, and the potential that still lay untapped. Ahead, the Nexus key's energy signature fluctuated, as if responding to the unfolding events. Eugene and Vita's eyes met, a silent understanding passing between them. They stepped forward, their hands intertwined, to address the precursor guardian's demand. "This is Eugene Chen and Vita of Kataria," Eugene began, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. "We have successfully separated and are prepared to discuss the situation." There was a moment of silence before the guardian captain responded. "Acknowledged. We will send a delegation to Haven for further assessment. Maintain your current status until our arrival." As the communication cut off, the command center erupted into a flurry of activity. Dr. Tanaka approached Eugene and Vita, her eyes wide with scientific curiosity. "We need to begin a full examination immediately," she said, gesturing towards the medical bay. "Your physiological changes could be groundbreaking." Over the next few days, Haven became the epicenter of intense scientific and diplomatic activity. Dr. Tanaka established a dedicated research facility on the station, drawing experts from Earth, Kataria, and the Voidwalker civilization. The facility hummed with the energy of cutting-edge technology, a testament to the unprecedented cooperation between the three species. Eugene and Vita underwent a series of comprehensive examinations. They sat side by side in the main lab, surrounded by an array of advanced diagnostic equipment. Dr. Tanaka studied the readouts with growing excitement. "Your hybrid biology has stabilized," she explained, pointing to a holographic display of their cellular structure. "You've retained enhanced strength, accelerated healing, and improved cognitive abilities. And this," she added, gesturing to their faintly glowing skin, "seems to be a visible marker of your transformation." As the research progressed, Eugene and Vita discovered that their residual abilities extended beyond mere physical enhancements. During a routine systems check, Eugene found he could interface directly with Haven's computer network, accessing and processing data at an unprecedented speed. Vita, meanwhile, demonstrated an uncanny ability to manipulate Katarian energy fields, a skill typically reserved for the most experienced practitioners of their mystical arts. Their newfound abilities were put to the test sooner than anyone expected. Alarms blared throughout the station, cutting through the hum of research activity. Commander Kraz's voice echoed over the intercom, tight with urgency. Emergency in the main reactor. We're experiencing a critical malfunction. All non-essential personnel evacuate immediately. Eugene and Vita exchanged a glance before sprinting towards the reactor control room. They arrived to find a scene of chaos, with technicians scrambling to contain the growing instability. Without hesitation, Eugene placed his hands on the main control panel. His eyes glowed as he interfaced directly with the reactor's systems. Vita stood beside him, her hands outstretched, channeling Qatarian energy to reinforce the containment field. Together they worked in perfect synchronization. Eugene's mind raced through the reactor's subsystems, identifying and correcting cascading failures. Vita's energy manipulation stabilized the fluctuating power levels, creating a buffer against further surges. After several tense minutes, the reactor's angry red warning lights faded to a calm blue. The crisis had been averted. As the immediate danger passed, Supreme Commander Zalthrak approached Eugene and Vita. The Voidwalker's ethereal form pulsed with an intensity that reflected his intrigue. Your actions today have demonstrated the true potential of your unique abilities, Zalthrak said, his voice resonating in their minds. I believe it is time we put those abilities to an even greater test. The commander led them to a secure briefing room, where a holographic display flickered to life. It showed a distant star system, with a pulsing marker indicating a specific location. We have recently discovered a precursor outpost on the fringes of known space, Zalthrak explained. Our attempts to access its systems have been unsuccessful, but with your enhanced capabilities, we may finally unlock its secrets. Eugene and Vita studied the holographic display, their minds already racing with possibilities. The prospect of exploring an ancient precursor facility was both exhilarating and daunting. Before they could respond, another alarm sounded. This time, it was a priority communication from Earth. Colonel Hargrove's face appeared on the main screen, his expression grim. Haven Station, we have a situation, he reported. A series of coordinated cyber attacks have hit key government installations across Earth. The targets are primarily facilities involved in extraterrestrial research. The news sent a ripple of concern through the assembled leaders. Ambassador Zyla stepped forward, her crystalline form reflecting the tension in the room. This is a critical juncture, she said, addressing Eugene and Vita. Your decision regarding Commander Zalthrak's proposal could have far-reaching consequences for all our peoples. As Eugene and Vita contemplated their response, the Nexus key pulsed in its containment field. The artifact's energy signature spiked, causing nearby equipment to flicker momentarily. Dr. Tanaka frowned, studying the readings from the key. It seems to be reacting to your presence, she mused, perhaps attempting to re-establish the connection formed during your merger. The implications of this development hung heavy in the air. The precursor Guardians, their ships still maintaining a watchful presence in the system, would undoubtedly view this as a potential threat. Eugene and Vita shared a long look, communicating without words in a way that spoke to their shared experience. Finally, Eugene turned to address the assembled leaders. We volunteer to lead the mission to the precursor outpost, he announced, his voice firm with willpower. Vita nodded in agreement. Our unique abilities may be the key to unlocking its secrets, she added, and perhaps in doing so, we can find answers that will benefit all our civilizations. The decision made, preparations for the mission began immediately. As Haven buzzed with activity, Eugene and Vita found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of training, briefings, and final equipment checks. A specialized ship was constructed, incorporating technology from all three species. Its sleek design belied the immense power and advanced systems hidden beneath its hull. Eugene and Vita spent hours in the ship's control center, learning to interface directly with its systems using their enhanced abilities. As the launch date approached, tensions continued to simmer throughout the Allied civilizations. Reports from Earth spoke of growing anti-alien sentiment, fueled by the recent cyber attacks. In the Qatarian Empire, Lord Xerax faced mounting opposition from pro-Vita factions. Despite these challenges, the mission received final approval. On the day of departure, Eugene and Vita stood before the assembled leaders of Haven, ready to embark on their journey into the unknown. Ambassador Zyla stepped forward, her crystalline form glinting in the light of the launch bay. "You carry with you the hopes of 3 civilizations," she said solemnly. "May your journey bring us the knowledge and understanding we all seek." As Eugene and Vita boarded their ship, the Nexus key emitted a powerful pulse of energy, as if acknowledging the momentous nature of their departure. The implications of this reaction would be left for Dr. Tanaka and her team to unravel. The ship's engines hummed to life, lifting off from Haven's docking bay with a grace that belied its immense power. As they set course for the distant precursor outpost, Eugene and Vita knew that the fate of 3 civilizations, and perhaps the entire galaxy, might hinge on what they discovered. Behind them, Haven grew smaller in the view screen, a beacon of cooperation in the vast expanse of space. Ahead lay the unknown, filled with both promise and peril. The mission to uncover the secrets of the precursor outpost had begun, and with it, a new chapter in the complex saga of human-Qatarian relations. The stellar symbiosis glided silently through the void, its sleek hull reflecting the distant starlight. Eugene and Vita sat at the ship's control center, their minds seamlessly interfaced with the advanced systems. As they approached the coordinates of the precursor outpost, a vast asteroid field materialized before them. "Sensors detecting a massive artificial structure," Eugene reported, his enhanced vision processing the incoming data streams. Vita nodded, her hands hovering over the holographic display. "Concealed within the asteroids. Clever." As they drew closer, the outpost's ancient defenses stirred to life. A complex network of energy barriers shimmered into existence, creating a labyrinth of deadly force fields amidst the tumbling rocks. Eugene's eyes glowed as he connected deeper with the ship's navigation systems. "Initiating evasive maneuvers." The stellar symbiosis danced through the asteroid field, narrowly avoiding collisions as Eugene and Vita worked in perfect synchronization. Their enhanced reflexes allowed them to anticipate and react to each new threat with inhuman speed. A bolt of energy from the outpost's defenses lashed out, barely missing the ship's port side. Vita's hands moved in a blur, adjusting the shields to compensate. "That was close," she said, a hint of exhilaration in her voice. After several tense minutes of navigation, they reached the outpost itself. An airlock on its surface seemed to ripple and reconfigure, adapting to accommodate the stellar symbiosis's unique design. As the ship docked, Eugene and Vita led the expedition team to the airlock. Their hybrid physiology allowed them to step into the outpost without the need for environmental suits, their skin tingling as it adapted to the alien atmosphere. The interior of the outpost was vast, its architecture a blend of organic curves and precise geometric patterns. As they moved deeper into the facility, Eugene and Vita found themselves drawn to a central chamber. Inside, an array of crystalline structures dominated the space, reminiscent of the Nexus key, but on a grander scale. As Eugene and Vita approached, the crystals pulsed with inner light, responding to their presence. Holographic data streams erupted from the crystals, filling the air with swirling patterns of light and information. Eugene and Vita's eyes darted back and forth, their hybrid neural patterns allowing them to decipher the complex data. "This is incredible," Eugene breathed, his mind racing to process the information. "The precursors, they've been guiding our evolution for millennia." Vita nodded, her face a mask of concentration. "Humans and Qatarians, we were chosen, modified over countless generations to achieve compatibility." As they delved deeper into the data, the true scope of the precursor's grand experiment became clear. The goal had been to create a new species, one capable of bridging the gap between organic life and advanced technology. While Eugene and Vita immersed themselves in the flow of information, the rest of the expedition team secured the perimeter. Suddenly, a series of metallic clicks echoed through the chamber. "Autonomous defense drones," one of the security officers reported, raising his weapon. Before anyone could react, Eugene and Vita turned in unison. Their eyes glowed with an inner light as they reached out, interfacing directly with the approaching drones. The machines stopped in their tracks, their hostile posture melting away. "Fascinating," Eugene murmured. "Our hybrid biology, it allows us to control precursor technology directly." As they continued to explore the outpost and its secrets, the stellar symbiosis's communication array crackled to life. Dr. Tanaka's voice came through, tinged with excitement and concern. "Eugene, Vita, are you receiving this? The Nexus key on Haven? It's reacting to something. We're picking up fragments of data. Are you accessing a precursor database?" Before they could respond, alarms blared throughout the outpost. The crystalline structures pulsed with angry red light, and the entire facility shuddered. "Energy spike detected," Vita reported, her hands dancing over a nearby control panel. "The outpost power systems are destabilizing." Eugene joined her at the controls, their minds working in tandem to analyze the cascading failures. "The energy barriers protecting the facility, they're fluctuating. If they collapse, we'll be exposed to open space," Vita finished grimly. As they raced to stabilize the ancient systems, their bodies began to emit a visible aura of energy. The glow intensified as they pushed their hybrid biology to its limits, interfacing more deeply with the precursor technology. Outside the outpost, a precursor Guardian scout ship moved into position. A containment field shimmered into existence around the facility, effectively trapping the stellar symbiosis and its crew within. Eugene and Vita stood at the heart of the chaos, their hands intertwined as they faced the rapidly deteriorating situation. The weight of their next decision pressed down upon them, a choice that could shape the future of their expedition and potentially the entire galaxy. "We could activate the full precursor network," Eugene said, his voice tight with tension. "It could revolutionize interstellar travel, communication, change everything." Vita's eyes met his, filled with a mix of willpower and concern. "But it might also tear this place apart, and us with it." As alarms blared and energy surged around them, Eugene and Vita stood on the precipice of a decision that would echo across the stars. The fate of 3 civilizations hung in the balance, awaiting their choice. Next move. The tension in the chamber was palpable as Eugene and Vita exchanged a knowing glance. With a subtle nod, they made their decision. "We need to stabilize the outpost," Eugene announced, his voice cutting through the cacophony of alarms. "The risk is too great to activate the full network now." Vita's hands were already moving across the control panel. "Initiating emergency shutdown protocols," she reported, her fingers dancing over the alien interface. Their hybrid physiology allowed them to connect directly with the outpost systems, their minds working in tandem to navigate the complex web of precursor technology. Energy surged through their bodies, visible as a faint blue glow emanating from their skin. The expedition team sprang into action, following Eugene and Vita's lead. As the outpost's energy fluctuations began to subside, they quickly gathered crucial data samples and artifacts from the central chamber. "We need to move," Eugene urged, his enhanced senses picking up the shifting energy patterns around them. "The internal structure is becoming unstable." Vita nodded, already leading the way towards the exit. "This way," she called, her hybrid biology allowing her to intuitively navigate the changing layout of the facility. As they raced through the twisting corridors, the walls seemed to pulse and shift, ancient machinery groaning as it powered down. Eugene and Vita's symbiotic connection allowed them to anticipate and avoid danger, guiding the team safely through the maze-like structure. They reached the airlock just as the last of the outpost systems went dark. The stellar symbiosis hummed to life, its engines primed for immediate departure. As they boarded, Eugene's eyes widened. The containment field. It's gone. Through the view screen, they watched as the precursor Guardian ship moved back, its imposing form a silent sentinel in the asteroid field. "They're letting us leave," Vita observed, her tone a mix of relief and suspicion. The stellar symbiosis glided out of the docking bay, its sleek hull navigating the treacherous asteroid field with fluid grace. Eugene and Vita's enhanced reflexes guided the ship through the natural labyrinth, their movements so in sync it was as if the vessel itself was an extension of their combined will. As they cleared the asteroid field, a sense of accomplishment washed over the crew. Their mission, while cut short, had not been in vain. The data and artifacts they carried could revolutionize their understanding of the precursors and their technology. Their relief was short-lived. A proximity alarm blared, cutting through the relative calm of the bridge. Vida's hands flew over the sensor controls, her eyes widening as she processed the incoming data. "Catarian stealth ship," she reported, her voice tight. "They're powering weapons." Before Eugene could respond, the ship rocked violently. Sparks erupted from several consoles as the Catarian vessel's energy weapons found their mark. "Propulsion systems damaged," one of the crew called out, her voice barely audible over the ship's wailing alarms. Eugene's mind raced, processing the tactical situation in milliseconds. His eyes met Vida's, and in that instant, a plan formed between them without a word spoken. Their hands moved in perfect synchronization, interfacing directly with the ship's defensive systems. Drawing on their knowledge of precursor technology, they wove together strands of energy, forming a shield unlike anything their pursuers had encountered. The next barrage from the Catarian ship splashed harmlessly against the shimmering barrier, its energy dissipating in a dazzling display of light. "It worked," Vida breathed, a rare smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Eugene nodded, but his expression remained grim. "It's bought us time, but we're still in trouble. We need to—" His words were cut short as a massive shape materialized between them and their attackers. The precursor Guardian ship loomed large in their view screen, its presence radiating an aura of ancient power. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The Catarian ship ceased its attack, clearly wary of engaging the vastly superior precursor vessel. The Guardian ship remained motionless, its intentions unclear. Then, almost imperceptibly, a shimmer of energy expanded outward from the Guardian ship, enveloping both the stellar symbiosis and the Catarian vessel in a gossamer web of light. "They've created a neutral zone," Vida observed, her fingers dancing over the sensor readouts. "We're cut off from weapons fire and from escaping." Eugene's eyes sharp as he surveyed the damage reports flooding in from across the ship. "Then we'd better make the most of this reprieve," he said, his voice resolute. "Let's get to work on those repairs." As they turned their attention to the damaged systems, Eugene and Vida knew that this was merely a temporary respite. The real challenges and the far-reaching consequences of their discoveries still lay ahead. The fate of 3 civilizations hung in the balance, and the next moves they made would shape the future of the galaxy. Galaxy. As the stellar symbiosis limped back to Haven, Eugene and Vida exchanged worried glances. The encounter with the Catarian vessel and the intervention of the precursor Guardian ship had left them shaken, but they knew their ordeal was far from finished. Upon docking at Haven's main spaceport, they were immediately whisked away to the medical bay. Dr. Tanaka, her face a mask of concern, began a series of intensive scans and tests. "Hold still," she instructed, adjusting a complex array of sensors around Eugene's head. "These readings are extraordinary." Vida, lying on an adjacent examination table, turned her head slightly. "What do you mean?" Dr. Tanaka's fingers danced across her datapad. "Your hybrid physiology is changing at an accelerated rate. It's as if your bodies are constantly adapting to new stimuli." Eugene felt a tingle run down his spine as the scanner passed over him. "Is that dangerous?" "I'm not sure yet," Dr. Tanaka admitted, "but the implications for future human-Catarian interactions could be profound." As the medical team continued their examinations, tension was building elsewhere on Haven. Ambassador Zyla's voice echoed through the station's communication systems, calling for an emergency diplomatic conference. Days later, Eugene and Vida found themselves standing before a diverse assembly in Haven's main conference chamber. Representatives from Earth, the Catarian Empire, and the enigmatic Voidwalker civilization filled the room. At the back, the imposing figures of the precursor Guardians, led by Zephyrus, watched in silent observation. Eugene stepped forward, his voice steady despite his nervousness. "During our mission to the precursor outpost, we discovered evidence of a vast galactic network." He held up a small crystalline object. "This data crystal contains partial information about that network. We believe it could revolutionize our understanding of precursor technology." The chamber erupted into a flurry of hushed conversations. An Earth diplomat stood up, his face flushed. This technology rightfully belongs to humanity. We demand exclusive rights to study it. Lyra, now leading the Qatarian delegation, countered immediately. The artifacts should be shared among all species as a gesture of cooperation. As the debate intensified, Eugene felt a sudden surge of energy coursing through his body. Beside him, Vita gasped, her eyes widening in surprise. Before they could react, the data crystal in Eugene's hand flared to life. A holographic map of the galaxy burst into existence above the conference table. Glowing points marked the locations of other precursor outposts, several pulsing brightly in disputed territories. Chaos erupted in the chamber. Security personnel rushed forward as scientists scrambled to record the projected data. In the confusion, a group of extremists made their move, lunging for the activated artifact. Acting on instinct, Eugene and Vita raised their hands in unison. A shimmering energy field sprang into existence around the artifact, halting the would-be thieves in their tracks. The display of power sent a ripple of unease through the assembled delegates. Supreme Commander Zalthrak seized the moment, stepping into the center of the room. "This is precisely why we must work together," he declared. "I propose a joint expedition to explore the nearest precursor outpost revealed by this map. Only through collaboration can we hope to unlock the secrets of this technology." As the delegates argued over Zalthrak's proposal, Dr. Tanaka approached Eugene and Vita, her expression grave. "I need to speak with you privately," she whispered urgently. In a quiet corner of the chamber, Dr. Tanaka shared her findings. "Your latest bioscans are concerning. The rate of change in your hybrid physiology is accelerating. Without intervention, your bodies may soon be unable to maintain their current form." Eugene felt a chill run down his spine. "What are you saying, Doctor?" "I'm saying that you're at risk of a potentially dangerous transformation," Dr. Tanaka replied, her voice low. "We need to find a way to stabilize your condition, and fast." As Eugene and Vita grappled with this news, a message arrived from the Qatarian homeworld. Vita's supporters were urging her to return and claim her rightful place on the throne. The weight of their personal crisis pressed down upon them, even as the fate of interspecies relations hung in the balance. Eugene opened his mouth to speak, but before he could, a series of alarms blared throughout the station. Haven's systems began to fluctuate wildly, power surges rippling through the infrastructure. At the center of it all, the Nexus key, still under heavy guard since Eugene and Vita's separation, pulsed with an otherworldly energy. Dr. Tanaka's eyes widened as she checked her datapad. The Nexus key, it's reacting to your evolving physiology and the activation of the precursor technology. It might be the key to stabilizing your condition. Eugene and Vita exchanged a look, understanding the unspoken risk. Using the Nexus key could trigger another merger, potentially creating an entity even more powerful than Eugita. As the alarms continued to blare and the delegates argued, Eugene and Vita stood at a crossroads. The choice before them would not only determine their personal fate, but shape the future of galactic relations and the balance of power among those seeking control of precursor technology. The Nexus key pulsed again, its energy calling to them like a siren's song. Time was running out, and a decision had to be made. Be made. The Nexus key pulsed once more, its energy surging through the room with an almost palpable force. Eugene and Vita locked eyes, a silent understanding passing between them. They reached out simultaneously, their fingers intertwining as they grasped the artifact. A blinding flash erupted from the Nexus key, enveloping the couple in a cocoon of shimmering light. The assembled delegates recoiled, shielding their eyes from the intensity. When the light subsided, Eugene and Vita stood motionless, their bodies radiating a faint, otherworldly glow. Dr. Tanaka rushed forward, her medical scanner whirring to life. "Their vital signs are fluctuating wildly," she reported, her voice tight with concern. "We need to get them to the medical bay immediately." As security personnel cleared a path, Eugene and Vita were swiftly escorted from the conference chamber. The diplomatic summit dissolved into chaos, with representatives from all factions demanding answers and action. In the sterile confines of Haven's advanced medical facility, Dr. Tanaka and her team worked feverishly to stabilize the couple's condition. Holographic displays flickered with a constant stream of biometric data, each readout more alarming than the last. Their hybrid physiology is evolving at an exponential rate, Dr. Tanaka explained to Ambassador Zyla, who had arrived to oversee the situation. It's as if their bodies are constantly adapting to new stimuli, rewriting their genetic code on the fly. Eugene stirred on the examination table, his eyes fluttering open. "What's happening to us?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Tanaka's expression was grim. "Your condition is deteriorating rapidly. Without intervention, your bodies may soon be unable to maintain their current form." Vita reached out, her fingers brushing against Eugene's arm. "We can feel it," she said, her voice tinged with a mixture of awe and fear. "It's like our bodies are trying to become something more." As the medical team continued their efforts, alarms blared throughout the station. Haven's systems began to fluctuate wildly, power surges rippling through the infrastructure. At the center of it all, the Nexus key pulsed with an otherworldly energy, responding to the changes in Eugene and Vita's physiology. Dr. Tanaka's eyes widened as she checked her datapad. "The Nexus key, it's reacting to your evolving condition. It might be the key to stabilizing you, but using it could trigger another merger." Before a decision could be made, Ambassador Zyla burst into the medical bay, her face a mask of urgency. "We have a situation," she announced. "The activation of the precursor artifact has revealed a network of outposts across the galaxy. The diplomatic conference has devolved into a power struggle over who should have access to this information." Eugene and Vita exchanged a look of concern. Despite their deteriorating condition, they knew the implications of this discovery were monumental. "We need to focus on stabilizing you first," Dr. Tanaka insisted, preparing a series of injections. "I'm going to attempt to slow down the rate of change in your bodies." As the doctor administered the treatment, the station shook violently. Klaxons wailed, signaling a station-wide emergency. "What now?" Vita asked, struggling to sit up. Ambassador Zyla activated a nearby view screen, revealing a scene of chaos unfolding in Haven's main docking bay. "Colonel Hargrove's separatist movement has seized control of Earth's primary spaceport," she explained, her voice tight. "They're preparing for a confrontation with any approaching alien vessels." Eugene's brow furrowed. "This is going to escalate quickly if we don't intervene." Dr. Tanaka shook her head firmly. "You're in no condition to—" Her words were cut short as the Nexus key, still under heavy guard outside the medical bay, flared to life once more. Energy cascaded through the room, drawn inexorably towards Eugene and Vita. "It's calling to us," Vita whispered, her eyes wide. Before anyone could react, the Nexus key phased through the walls, hovering between Eugene and Vita. Time seemed to slow as they reached out in unison, their fingers brushing against its glowing surface. A vortex of energy erupted around them, engulfing the Nexus key and sending waves of power surging through Haven's systems. The medical bay's equipment overloaded, plunging the room into darkness save for the swirling maelstrom of light surrounding the couple. When the energy dissipated, Eugene and Vita stood transformed. Their bodies now exhibited a perfect blend of human and Catarian features, with an otherworldly iridescence to their skin. The Nexus key was nowhere to be seen. Dr. Tanaka's scanner chirped urgently. "This is unprecedented," she breathed, studying the readouts. "You've internalized the Nexus key's energy. Your physiology has stabilized, but the power you now possess is beyond anything we've encountered." Before Eugene or Vita could respond, a thunderous voice echoed through the station's communication systems. It was Zephyrus, the lead precursor guardian. "The individuals known as Eugene and Vita must be placed under our custody immediately," the ancient being intoned. "The power they now wield poses a grave threat to the balance of the galaxy." As security teams converged on the medical bay, Eugene and Vita shared a look of understanding. They had come too far, learned too much to simply surrender now. With a thought, they tapped into their newly acquired powers. Haven's security systems bent to their will, force fields shimmering into existence to hold back the approaching guards. "We can't stay here," Eugene said, his voice resonating with newfound authority. "There's too much at stake." Vita nodded, her eyes scanning the room before settling on a nearby computer terminal. With a wave of her hand, she accessed Haven's transportation network. There's a high-speed shuttle in Docking Bay 7. It's our best chance to get clear of the station. As alarms blared and chaos reigned throughout Haven, Eugene and Vida made their decision. Using their incredible new abilities, they overrode the station's systems and made their way to the shuttle bay. The sleek vessel hummed to life as they approached, responding to their mere presence. As they prepared for launch, long-range sensors detected a massive energy surge emanating from the coordinates of the nearest precursor outpost revealed by the holographic map. The network is activating, Vida realized, her hands dancing over the shuttle's controls. We need to get to that outpost before anyone else does. With a burst of energy, the shuttle broke free from Haven's docking clamps. As they accelerated away from the station, they could see the flurry of activity in their wake, ships from every faction scrambling to give chase. Eugene plotted a course for the activated precursor outpost, pushing the shuttle's engines to their limit. "Whatever's happening out there, we're at the center of it now," he said, his voice grim but determined. Vida nodded, her eyes fixed on the starfield ahead. "And we may be the only ones who can unravel the truth behind it all." As their shuttle disappeared into the depths of space, the couple knew that the hope of the universe now rested in their hands. The race to unlock the secrets of the precursors had begun, and Eugene and Vida, forever changed by their experiences, were determined to see it through to the end. As their shuttle disappeared into the depths of space, Eugene and Vida felt a surge of energy coursing through their bodies. The Nexus key's power, now fully integrated into their hybrid physiology, began to manifest in unexpected ways. Eugene's hands moved across the shuttle's control panel, his fingers barely touching the surface. The ship's systems responded instantly, as if directly linked to his thoughts. Vida closed her eyes, sensing the vast expanse of space around them with newfound clarity. "Eugene," she gasped, her eyes snapping open. "The shuttle, it's interfacing with us." He nodded, feeling the same connection. "Our journey's been reduced from weeks to mere hours. We're moving at unprecedented speeds." The stars blurred into streaks of light as they hurtled through space, the shuttle's engines humming with an otherworldly resonance. In what felt like moments, they approached their destination, the activated precursor outpost. As they neared, a massive structure came into view, pulsing with energy that seemed to call out to them. The outpost's beacon resonated with the Nexus key energy within their bodies, creating a harmonic frequency that made their skin tingle. "Look!" Vida pointed to a section of the outpost that was reconfiguring itself. "It's adapting to us." A docking bay materialized, perfectly sized for their shuttle. Eugene guided the vessel in, marveling at how the outpost systems bent to accommodate them. As they disembarked, the couple found themselves in a series of chambers filled with advanced precursor technology. Holographic displays flickered to life as they passed, responding to their presence. Eugene approached a console, his hand hovering over its surface. The device activated, projecting a stream of data in an alien language that he somehow understood. "Vida, I think we can control this place." Before she could respond, a massive hologram materialized before them. An androgynous figure of imposing stature and otherworldly beauty stood in the center of the chamber, its form shimmering with an inner light. "Greetings, Culmination," the being spoke, its voice resonating within their minds. "We have awaited your arrival for eons." Eugene and Vida exchanged glances, their shock evident. What are you?" Vida asked. "I am an echo of the precursors, programmed to activate upon the arrival of the culmination. You," the hologram explained. "Your humanitarian symbiosis is the key we designed to unlock our galactic network." The hologram proceeded to reveal the grand plan behind their existence. Eugene and Vida learned of millions of years of careful genetic engineering and social manipulation, all leading to this moment. As the revelation unfolded, the outpost began to transform around them. Walls shifted, floors realigned, and new chambers opened up. They found themselves in a vast control room, surrounded by holographic displays showing the status of other precursor outposts across the galaxy. Eugene's mind reeled at the implications. "We have the power to activate or deactivate this entire network," he realized aloud. Before they could fully process this information, An alert flashed across the displays. The outpost systems had detected approaching vessels. The pursuing fleets from Earth, the Catarian Empire, and the Voidwalker civilization. Supreme Commander Zalthrak's flagship is leading the charge, Vita observed, studying the tactical display. Lyra's cruiser and the Earth stealth ship are close behind. As the fleets neared, an energy barrier sprung to life around the outpost, holding the approaching ships at bay. Eugene and Vita watched as the vessels attempted to penetrate the barrier, their weapons proving ineffective against the ancient precursor defenses. Suddenly, another alert blared through the control room. Unauthorized entry detected, an artificial voice announced. The outpost security feeds revealed a small team of precursor guardians, led by Zephyrus, making their way through the facility. They've bypassed the energy barrier, Eugene said, his voice tight with tension. They're coming for us. Vita's eyes narrowed as she focused on the security feeds. We can use the outpost systems to slow them down, she suggested, her fingers dancing across a nearby console. As they worked in tandem to create obstacles for the approaching guardians, Eugene and Vita felt their bond intensify. Their hybrid physiologies resonated with the precursor technology, allowing them to manipulate the outpost systems with increasing ease. Outside, the situation deteriorated rapidly. Supreme Commander Zalthrak, growing impatient, ordered his ships to probe the energy barrier for weaknesses. The Catarian forces, interpreting this as an aggressive act, moved to intercept. This is going to escalate quickly, Vita warned, watching the tactical display with growing concern. Eugene nodded grimly. We need to make a decision about the network. If we activate it, it could change everything. As they debated their options, the security feeds showed Zephyrus and his team getting closer to the control room. Time was running out. With a shared look of understanding, Eugene and Vita made their choice. They initiated a partial activation of the precursor network, focusing on a specific section of the galaxy. The effect was immediate and dramatic. A massive energy wave erupted from the outpost, expanding outward at an incredible speed. As it passed through the assembled fleets, their weapons and propulsion systems went dark, enforcing an unintended ceasefire. The partial activation had consequences within the outpost as well. Eugene and Vita felt a surge of power coursing through their bodies, their skin now glowing with an otherworldly iridescence. The Nexus key's energy, combined with the activated precursor network, had transformed them further. As the control room doors began to open, heralding the arrival of Zephyrus and his team, Eugene and Vita stood side by side. Their bodies pulsed with energy, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The fate of galactic civilization now rested in their hands, and the confrontation that would shape the future of countless species was about to begin. The confrontation that would shape the future of countless species was about to unfold in ways none of them could have anticipated. As Zephyrus and his team burst into the control room, Eugene and Vita stood their ground, their bodies pulsing with ethereal energy. The precursor guardians raised their weapons, but before anyone could act, the outpost shuddered violently. The partial activation of the network triggered a cascade of events that caught everyone off guard. Through the expansive viewports, they watched in awe as the energy wave that had disabled the assembled fleets began to recede, revealing a transformed landscape of space. Vita's eyes widened as she processed the incoming data streams. "Eugene, look!" she exclaimed, gesturing to the holographic displays that sprang to life around them. The screens showed massive structures emerging from the surfaces of nearby planets, pulsing with the same energy that now coursed through their veins. Eugene's mind raced as he absorbed the information, flooding his consciousness. "It's a transportation grid," he breathed, understanding dawning on his face. "The precursors built a galaxy-wide network for instant travel." Zephyrus lowered his weapon, his ancient features etched with concern. "You don't understand the forces you're dealing with," he warned. "This technology was hidden for a reason." Before Eugene could respond, alarms blared throughout the outpost. The tactical displays showed the assembled fleets regaining control of their systems. Supreme Commander Zalthrak's Voidwalker ships were already moving to secure one of the newly revealed structures on a neighboring planet. "The Catarians are mobilizing too," Vita noted, her fingers dancing across the control panel. "They're heading for another structure. Eugene's attention was drawn to a small, sleek vessel breaking away from the Earth contingent. That's Hargrove's stealth ship, he realized. They're making a run for the outpost. The couple shared a look of understanding. They couldn't allow any single faction to claim this technology for themselves. The consequences would be devastating. We need to show them what this network can really do, Vida said, her voice filled with persistence. Eugene nodded, reaching out to take her hand. Together, they stepped onto a circular platform in the center of the control room. Their bodies began to glow brighter, the Nexus key's energy harmonizing with the precursor systems. Zephyrus lunged forward, shouting, "Wait, you don't know what you're—" But it was too late. In a blinding flash of light, Eugene and Vida vanished, leaving the precursor guardians staring in disbelief at the empty platform. An instant later, they materialized on the bridge of Supreme Commander Zalthrak's flagship. Alarms blared as security teams rushed to surround them, but Eugene and Vida remained calm. Their hybrid physiology allowed them to interface seamlessly with the ship's systems, overriding security protocols with ease. Zalthrak rose from his command chair, his tentacles writhing in agitation. "How did you—" "Supreme Commander," Eugene interrupted, his voice resonating with newfound authority. "We're here to demonstrate the true potential of the precursor network." Vida raised her hand, and holographic displays sprang to life around the bridge. "We're broadcasting this message to all vessels in the sector," she explained. "The network isn't a weapon or a tool for domination. It's a means of bringing our civilizations together." As Eugene and Vida revealed the nature and purpose of the precursor technology, the implications began to sink in. The assembled fleet captains watched in awe as the couple demonstrated the network's capabilities, instantly transmitting data and even small objects between ships. Suddenly, an urgent transmission cut through the awed silence. Dr. Tanaka's face appeared on the main view screen, her expression grave. "Eugene, Vida, you need to return to Haven immediately," she said, her voice tight with concern. "The changes to your physiology are accelerating. If we don't find a way to stabilize you soon, you may lose your humanity entirely." The weight of this revelation hit them hard. Eugene and Vida exchanged a worried glance, knowing that their time was running out. They had unlocked the secrets of the precursors, but at what cost? As they prepared to return to the outpost, another alert caught their attention. A massive energy signature was building up in Earth's solar system. Colonel Hargrove's hidden weapon was preparing to fire. Eugene's mind focused. "We can't let him destroy everything we've worked for." Vida nodded, her eyes gleaming with purpose. "Then let's show them what this network can really do." With a thought, they activated the precursor transportation system once more. In a flash of brilliant light, they vanished from the Voidwalker flagship, leaving a stunned Supreme Commander Zalthrak in their wake. As they hurtled through the network towards Earth, Eugene and Vida knew that the true test of their newfound powers was just beginning. The fate of the stars hung in the balance, and they were running out of time to save not only civilization but themselves. Themselves, but also the very fabric of galactic civilization. As they hurtled through the precursor network towards Earth, the urgency of their mission caused great concern upon them. In a blinding flash of light, Eugene and Vida rematerialized in the control room of the precursor outpost. The sudden transition left them momentarily disoriented, their bodies still pulsing with the energy of their recent transformation. As their vision cleared, they found themselves face to face with Zephyrus and his team of precursor guardians, weapons raised and expressions taut with tension. Eugene raised his hands in a gesture of peace, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We're not here to fight, Zephyrus. We're here to show you something extraordinary." Vida nodded, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. "What we've discovered goes beyond anything you've imagined. Let us demonstrate." Without waiting for a response, Eugene and Vida stepped towards the central console. As they approached, their bodies began to shimmer, the boundaries between flesh and energy blurring. They placed their hands on the smooth surface of the console, and the entire room came alive with pulsing light. Holographic displays erupted around them, filling the air with intricate patterns and streams of data. The Guardians watched in awe as Eugene and Vida's consciousnesses merged with the ancient systems, their bodies becoming conduits for the vast network of precursor technology. Zephyrus lowered his weapon, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Impossible," he whispered. "You've achieved a level of integration that even we never—" His words trailed off as the displays shifted, revealing a stunning vista of the galaxy. Countless points of light flickered to life, each representing a node in the precursor network. Eugene's voice, now tinged with a resonant power, filled the room. "This network isn't a weapon or a tool for domination. It's a gift, meant to unite all sentient beings across the stars." Vida's voice joined his, their words intertwining like strands of cosmic energy. "We propose a new path forward, one of cooperation, not conflict." With a shared thought, Eugene and Vida initiated a galaxy-wide broadcast. Their message reached out across the vast expanse of space, touching the minds of beings on countless worlds. "People of the galaxy," they began, their voices echoing through the cosmos. "We stand at a crossroads. The precursor network offers us a chance to transcend our differences and forge a new future together." As they spoke, their bodies continued to change. Iridescent patterns danced across their skin, and their forms became fluid, adapting to the surges of energy flowing through them. Despite the visible strain of their metamorphosis, they maintained their focus, their words clear and unwavering. "We invite representatives from all species to join us. Together, we can build a galactic community based on mutual understanding and shared prosperity." With a surge of power, Eugene and Vida activated a dormant precursor protocol. The outpost shuddered, walls shifting and reforming as a vast chamber took shape around them. Within moments, a grand council hall stood ready, capable of hosting delegates from every corner of the galaxy. As the transformation completed, a series of shimmering portals opened throughout the chamber. Through them stepped the leaders of various civilizations, their expressions a mix of awe and uncertainty. Dr. Amanda Reeves led the Earth delegation, her face set with perseverance. She approached Eugene and Vida, her voice filled with a mix of concern and admiration. "We've neutralized Hargrove's weapon. Earth stands ready to join this new galactic community." Lyra, resplendent in the regalia of the Qatarian Empire, strode forward. In her arms, she carried a collection of ancient artifacts, their surfaces glowing with a familiar energy. "The Qatarian people offer these relics of our past as a gesture of goodwill. May they serve as a foundation for our shared future." Supreme Commander Zalthrak, his tentacles writhing with awe-inspiring excitement, stepped up to the central platform. "The Voidwalkers pledge our full support. Your network may hold the key to our people's salvation." As the delegates gathered, the air in the chamber grew thick with energy. Eugene and Vida's transformation accelerated, their individual forms blurring and merging. In a flash of blinding light, they coalesced into a single being of pure energy and consciousness. The new entity, its form rippling with cosmic power, addressed the assembled council. "We are Nexus," it said, its voice resonating with the combined essence of Eugene and Vida. "We have transcended our physical forms to become guardians of this galactic network. Through us, the legacy of the precursors will serve all sentient beings." The council chamber fell silent, the delegates struck by the magnitude of what they were witnessing. Then slowly, a wave of agreement swept through the gathering. One by one, the representatives pledged their support for a new galactic alliance. As protocols were established and agreements forged, Nexus activated the full potential of the precursor network. Across the galaxy, dormant technologies sprang to life, ushering in an era of instantaneous travel and communication. The council session concluded with a sense of profound optimism. As the delegates departed through the shimmering portals, each carried with them the seeds of a new age of exploration and cooperation. Zephyrus approached Nexus, his ancient eyes filled with a newfound respect. "We misjudged you," he said softly. "The Guardians will serve as advisors to this new alliance. Our knowledge, combined with the vision of the younger races, will guide the galaxy towards a brighter future." Nexus nodded, its form shimmering with approval. As the last of the delegates departed, it turned its attention to the vast network spread out before it. The entity that had once been Eugene and Vida prepared to embrace its new role as guardian of the galactic community, ready to face whatever challenges the future might hold.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.